Welcome, brave souls, to another spine-chilling episode of Ghosts of the Windy City. Tonight, we embark on a journey through the haunted heart of Chicago, exploring 25 bars that locals whisper about in hushed tones. These establishments, steeped in history and tragedy, are said to be haunted by spirits who refuse to rest. So, grab your favorite drink, dim the lights, and join us as we delve into the eerie tales of Chicago's most haunted bars. Tucked away on North Halsted Street, the Golden Dagger stands as one of Chicago's most infamous haunted bars. A place where history and legend intermingle in shadows and whispers. Established during the Prohibition era, the bar was originally a speakeasy, frequented by members of the notorious North Side Gang. Hidden behind an unassuming facade, its doors opened to a world of clandestine meetings, illicit drinks, and whispered secrets, where gangsters plotted, bootleggers schemed, and the city's underworld thrived under the cover of darkness. Yet beneath the veneer of lively indulgence, the building harbored a more arcane side, one that would leave a lingering presence long after the clatter of glasses and the chatter of patrons faded. The Golden Dagger's basement is perhaps the most enigmatic and unsettling part of the establishment. Locals have long whispered that the subterranean rooms were adorned with occult symbols, cryptic inscriptions etched into the walls, and strange artifacts that suggested the presence of secretive societies. Historical accounts and urban legends converge on the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a mysterious esoteric organization, as having used the space for ritualistic purposes. Though definitive records are scarce, the symbols, the arrangement of the rooms, and the pervasive aura of secrecy fuel the belief that rituals and ceremonies, perhaps invoking forces beyond human comprehension, once occurred here. Visitors and staff alike report that, even today, the basement seems to hum with a latent energy, a weight of the past that is almost tangible. Patrons of the Golden Dagger have shared numerous unsettling experiences over the years. Many speak of sudden cold spots that appear without warning, chilling the air around them in ways that defy explanation. A group of friends sitting at a corner table might feel an abrupt drop in temperature, their breath fogging as if the room itself had exhaled a ghostly chill. Others have reported the sensation of being watched, a prickling unease crawling along their skin, even when no one else is present. Staff members often recount hearing footsteps echoing from the basement when the area is empty, or the soft clink of glasses from rooms long sealed, as though the past refuses to stay silent. Perhaps the most striking and frequently reported phenomenon involves the appearance of ghostly figures dressed in vintage attire, harkening back to the bar's Prohibition era heyday. These apparitions are typically seen in peripheral vision, fleeting and indistinct, yet enough to unsettle those who encounter them. Some witnesses describe well-dressed men with fedoras and tailored suits, moving with the deliberate precision of gangsters conducting business in a hidden world. Others have glimpsed women in flapper dresses, their laughter faint and ethereal, vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. The figures often seem oblivious to the present, replaying their old routines, trapped in a loop of memory and energy that the building refuses to release. The Golden Dagger has also become a magnet for paranormal investigators. Equipment brought into the basement frequently registers anomalies, temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic spikes, and unexplained sounds captured on recording devices. Audio recordings sometimes reveal faint voices, murmuring in languages or tones that defy immediate comprehension. Photographs occasionally capture shadowy shapes or distortions not visible to the naked eye. While skeptics attribute many of these occurrences to the building's age, creaking floors, or the imagination of sensitive visitors, believers argue that the history, secrecy, and tragedy that suffuse the space create a natural conduit for lingering spirits. The atmosphere in the main bar is subtly influenced by the weight of history below. Even in the well-lit areas, a sense of tension and anticipation lingers, as though the building itself remembers its past. Waitstaff and regular patrons often feel a presence at their tables, hear faint whispers in the clatter of the crowd, or catch glimpses of movement from the corner of their eye. Many describe an ineffable feeling that the room is not entirely their own, that they share it with unseen figures still tied to the bar's storied past. The effect is both unnerving and intoxicating, adding to the allure that draws visitors to the site, blending fear with fascination. Local lore suggests that some of the spirits inhabiting the Golden Dagger are tied directly to the bar's criminal past. Members of the North Side gang who met violent ends, betrayed or shot during Prohibition conflicts, are said to linger, replaying old rivalries or seeking justice in ways invisible to the living. Others argue that the energy comes from the bar's esoteric use, that the Hermetic Order's rituals have left behind residual impressions, imprinted onto the fabric of the space. The combination of criminal and occult histories creates a uniquely potent mix where every corner might conceal a story. Every shadow might conceal a memory, and every unexplained sound could be a fragment of the past reaching out to the present. Over the decades, the Golden Dagger has become more than a bar. It is a living archive of Chicago's secretive and often violent history, a place where the spirits of gangsters, socialites, and occult practitioners intermingle in ways that defy logic. Visitors come seeking the thrill of the paranormal, historians intrigued by the past, or simply those drawn to the ambience of a space steeped in legend. Regulars often recount feeling a subtle respect or wariness toward the unseen inhabitants, acknowledging their presence without confrontation, letting the ghosts coexist quietly alongside the living. Even as Chicago evolves around it, the Golden Dagger remains a fixed point in time, a repository of memory and energy that refuses to fade. Whether it is the chill that runs down a visitor's spine, the fleeting glimpse of a 1920s gangster, or the faint echo of laughter from a flapper's ghostly dance, the bar reminds all who enter that the past is never truly gone. It lingers in shadows, in whispers, in sudden temperature drops, and in the very stones of the building itself. Nestled in the quiet town of Willow Springs, the Irish legend stands as a reminder of Chicago's turbulent Prohibition-era past. From the outside, the bar appears unassuming, its modest brick facade offering no hint of the darkness hidden within. Yet for decades, locals have whispered about the sinister history that lingers in every corner, where the clinking of glasses and laughter are said to intermingle with echoes of long-forgotten crimes. The bar's reputation is built on whispers of illicit affairs, gang rivalries, and violent acts that left invisible scars on the very walls, creating an atmosphere that continues to haunt both staff and patrons. The origins of the Irish legend date back to the 1920s, when Chicago was a city gripped by bootlegging, speakeasies, and gang wars. The bar was a favorite among members of the city's Irish mob, who used the establishment not just for drinking, but as a place to settle scores, conduct secret meetings, and hide the darker aspects of their criminal lives. Murders, disappearances, and sudden confrontations are said to have occurred both inside the bar and in the shadowed alleyways behind it. Some stories even speak of bodies hidden within secret rooms or beneath floorboards, though these tales remain unconfirmed, adding only to the aura of unease. Visitors to the Irish legend frequently report experiencing an oppressive sense of being watched. Footsteps echo through the hallways when no one else is present, and whispers, often unintelligible, seem to come from the corners of the bar where shadows cling most tightly. Some have described the sensation of cold drafts that travel along the floor, rising in sudden waves as if invisible presences are moving nearby. The very air inside the bar carries a weight that is difficult to define, a lingering energy that clings to the walls and furniture, almost as if the building itself remembers the violence and secrets that transpired decades ago. Perhaps the most chilling encounters involve apparitions of former patrons. Numerous witnesses have reported seeing shadowy figures in period clothing, lingering near the bar or sitting at tables that have long since been abandoned. These figures often vanish when approached, leaving only the faintest trace of movement or the lingering smell of tobacco and whiskey. Some patrons claim to have glimpsed more detailed images. A man in a fedora leaning against a wall, surveying the room with a cold, detached gaze. A woman in a flapper dress standing silently at a corner, her eyes following those who dare to enter. The appearances are fleeting, yet enough to leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. Staff members at the Irish Legend have long become accustomed to the unexplained phenomena. Drinks vanish from tables without explanation, and utensils sometimes move as if guided by invisible hands. Some bartenders have reported feeling the brush of a cold hand against their arm or sensing someone leaning close in a part of the bar that should be empty. One employee described hearing the sound of a glass shattering in the back room, only to find everything perfectly intact moments later. The stories are so frequent that many staff have developed a wary respect for the spirits, accepting their presence as an unspoken part of working in a place steeped in history. Paranormal investigators drawn to the Irish Legend have documented an array of strange occurrences. Audio recordings often capture disembodied voices, snippets of conversation, muttered warnings, or the sound of laughter echoing faintly in empty rooms. Thermal imaging sometimes reveals pockets of extreme cold in areas without drafts, and electromagnetic sensors frequently spike without any apparent cause. Visitors have occasionally photographed faint shapes or blurry forms that seem to move against the grain of light, reinforcing the bar's reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity. Many of the spirits said to inhabit the Irish Legend are believed to be tied to the violent history of the building. Gangsters who were killed in turf wars, betrayed by allies, or caught in the crossfire of rival factions are said to linger, replaying moments of their final hours. Some tales speak of lovers torn apart by jealousy or infidelity, whose sorrowful energy clings to the bar's corners. Others suggest that the bar itself, having witnessed decades of crime and human emotion, holds on to the residual energy, creating a liminal space where the past and present coexist uneasily. Despite, or perhaps because of its dark reputation, the Irish Legend continues to draw visitors. Ghost enthusiasts, curious tourists, and locals seeking a thrill come to test their courage, to experience firsthand the eerie ambience that has made the bar infamous. Many describe a sense of tension upon entering, a feeling that the shadows themselves are alive and observing. Patrons who stay late into the night sometimes report hearing footsteps trailing behind them, soft murmurs in an empty room, or the feeling of being touched by unseen hands. These experiences, though unsettling, have become part of the bar's enduring mystique. Even in modern times, when Willow Springs has grown quieter and the city's gang activity has long since faded, the Irish Legend remains a portal to a darker era. The clatter of glasses, the low murmur of conversation, and the warmth of the bar's lights are juxtaposed against the cold brush of unseen presences. Fleeting shadows, and the persistent sense of history pressing down from the walls. For those who dare to enter, the bar offers more than drinks. It offers a connection to the past, a tangible link to lives lived in secrecy, danger, and passion. The haunting at the Irish Legend is subtle yet pervasive. It is not defined by overt terror or violent outbursts, but by the quiet, insistent reminders that the past never truly dies. The whispers, the cold spots, the fleeting apparitions, and the sensation of being observed all contribute to an atmosphere that is both captivating and unsettling. Patrons leave with stories to tell, whether to amuse, frighten, or simply bear witness to the lingering presence that defines the bar. Nestled in the heart of Chicago's Lakeview neighborhood, L&L Tavern is more than just a corner bar. It is a place where history, darkness, and the unexplained converge. For decades, this unassuming tavern has been a gathering spot for locals, musicians, and travelers. Yet behind its casual exterior lies a reputation steeped in eerie tales and unsettling encounters. What makes L&L Tavern infamous is not simply the drinks it serves or the camaraderie it fosters, but the lingering presence of shadows from its past, some of them tied to notorious figures who once walked its floors. The tavern's reputation grew during the 1970s, a time when Chicago was grappling with its own shadows of crime and mystery. Locals whisper that John Wayne Gacy, one of the city's most notorious serial killers, frequented L&L Tavern. While the bar was never officially linked to his crimes, the mere association added a layer of dark fascination to the establishment. Over the years, patrons and staff have reported a variety of paranormal phenomena, suggesting that the echoes of past visitors, whether infamous or ordinary, continue to haunt the space. Many of the reports focus on shadowy figures, often glimpsed in peripheral vision or seen lingering near corners and doorways. Some visitors describe seeing a figure standing silently by the bar, shrouded in darkness, only to vanish when approached. Others have reported fleeting shapes moving across the floor or disappearing behind walls, leaving a sense of unease that is difficult to shake. These apparitions are often described as indistinct, lacking clear features, yet their presence is unmistakable, filling the tavern with a subtle but pervasive tension. Unexplained noises are another hallmark of the L&L Tavern haunting. Patrons have recounted hearing footsteps echoing through empty rooms, the creak of a chair pulled across the floor, or the clink of glasses when the bar is otherwise deserted. Some have reported muffled conversations, whispers, or low murmurs that seem to come from nowhere, fading as quickly as they arise. Staff often notice objects moving on their own, a coaster sliding across a table, a bottle tipped from the shelf, or the soft thud of something falling in areas where no one is present. These events, while sporadic, reinforce the idea that the tavern is more than it seems, a place where the line between the living and the spectral blurs. One of the most chilling aspects of the L&L Tavern is the feeling of being watched. Visitors often describe an oppressive sense that someone or something is observing them, following their movements from across the room. Even in the bustling environment of a busy evening, some patrons report sudden shivers or goosebumps, as if an unseen presence has drawn close. This sensation is particularly pronounced near the bar itself, where the spirits are said to linger, replaying moments from the tavern's long history. The combination of physical manifestations, auditory phenomena, and a constant sense of presence has made L&L Tavern a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts and ghost hunters alike. The tavern's architecture and ambience contribute to its eerie reputation. Dim lighting, narrow spaces, and worn wooden floors create an atmosphere where shadows seem to stretch unnaturally, and ordinary sounds echo with heightened intensity. The bar's long history, combined with the stories of infamous patrons and unexplained events, forms a tapestry of energy that some believe attracts or sustains paranormal activity. Those sensitive to such phenomena often report feeling an almost tangible weight in certain corners of the tavern, as though the spirits themselves are pressing against the living, insisting on acknowledgement. Over the years, numerous investigations have attempted to document the paranormal activity at L&L Tavern. Audio recordings have captured unexplained murmurs and occasional disembodied voices. Thermal cameras have detected pockets of sudden cold, inexplicable in an otherwise climate-controlled space. Video footage has sometimes revealed fleeting shadows darting across walls, vanishing before anyone can fully focus on them. While skeptics attribute these occurrences to tricks of light, old architecture, or the power of suggestion, believers argue that the tavern's long, dark history and association with infamous figures make it a natural conduit for lingering spirits. Many locals who frequent the bar have developed a cautious respect for the entities said to inhabit it. Regular patrons often avoid certain corners or do not venture into the quieter areas of the tavern late at night. Staff members, especially those who work evening shifts, report that they have grown accustomed to the occasional cold spot or the feeling of unseen eyes tracking their movements. Some even speak of subtle interactions with the spirits, an inexplicable brush of air, the fleeting sensation of someone sitting beside them, or glasses appearing slightly moved. The experiences are accepted as part of life at L&L Tavern, forming an unspoken understanding between the living and the lingering dead. Despite its reputation, or perhaps because of it, L&L Tavern continues to draw visitors. Curious tourists, thrill seekers, and paranormal enthusiasts come hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural, to feel the chill of the unexplained, or simply to drink in a space where history is palpably present. The tavern's blend of ordinary warmth and extraordinary eeriness creates a unique atmosphere, one where laughter and conversation, coexist with whispers, shadows, and fleeting glimpses of another world. The L&L Tavern haunting is not defined by dramatic displays or overt terror, but by a subtle, pervasive presence that seeps into the awareness of anyone who spends time there. Every shadowed corner, every faint creak of wood, every inexplicable chill or movement serves as a reminder that the tavern is alive with memories of the past, some pleasant, some dark, and some chillingly sinister. Visitors leave with stories, often reluctant to fully describe what they experienced, aware that even recounting the events risks drawing attention to the unseen inhabitants. On North Dearborn Street, nestled among the bustling streets of Chicago, stands Excalibur nightclub, a building with a history as colorful as it is chilling. Its origins trace back to a time when the space served as a funeral parlor, a place where families mourned their dead and paid final respects. The somber energy of those years, steeped in grief and solemn ritual, is said to have left an imprint on the very walls of the building. Decades later, the space was transformed into a nightclub, a place of music, laughter, and revelry. Yet despite the vibrant life now filling its halls, the past has never truly released its hold, and many believe that the spirits of those once laid to rest still linger, watching, waiting, and sometimes interacting with the living. Excalibur nightclub has become a hotspot for ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts. Drawn by tales of strange occurrences and spectral sightings, visitors often report seeing shadowy figures darting across the dance floor or lingering near the corners of the room, always moving just out of direct sight. Some describe these apparitions as human in shape, dressed in styles reminiscent of the funeral parlor era, while others are more amorphous, fleeting glimpses of energy that vanish as soon as they are noticed. The club's dim lighting and echoing architecture only enhance these experiences, creating an atmosphere in which every shadow feels alive and every unexplained sound carries the weight of the past. The paranormal activity at Excalibur is varied and persistent. Patrons have reported feeling sudden drops in temperature in otherwise warm areas, as if unseen presences have passed close by. Drinks have been known to tip over without cause, lights flicker unexpectedly, and doors open or close on their own. Music from the club's sound system occasionally seems to skip or distort in ways that cannot be explained by technical issues. Many visitors speak of a strange, almost tactile energy that fills the rooms, a sensation of being watched or followed that becomes more pronounced in the quieter hours, long after the music has faded and the crowd has gone home. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves ghostly apparitions in the former funeral parlor as private rooms. Patrons have described seeing figures dressed in somber, old-fashioned attire standing silently, their faces pale and indistinct. These figures often appear near the walls or behind objects, disappearing when approached, as though reluctant to fully reveal themselves. Some ghost hunters suggest that these spirits are former mourners or funeral workers, trapped in the residual energy of grief and loss that permeates the space. Others believe that the nightclub's activities themselves, its music, dancing, and late-night energy create a strange interaction between the living and the dead, amplifying the presence of these apparitions. In addition to visual phenomena, Excalibur is notorious for auditory anomalies. Visitors have reported hearing whispered conversations, sometimes urgent, sometimes mournful, with no identifiable source. Footsteps echo along empty hallways, chairs scrape across floors with no human presence, and soft cries or sighs are occasionally audible amid the din of the club. The building's dual history, as both a place of mourning and celebration, seems to create a unique energy where sorrow and revelry intermingle. Paranormal investigators argue that the intense emotions once housed within the funeral parlor, grief, fear, and loss, remain embedded in the structure, giving rise to residual hauntings. Meanwhile, the nightclub's modern energy, full of joy, excitement, and human activity, interacts with this residue, creating a dynamic environment where the dead can make their presence felt. This juxtaposition makes Excalibur a particularly fascinating sight for those drawn to the supernatural. offering the rare opportunity to witness how history, emotion, and energy converge in a single space. Regular visitors and staff have become accustomed to some of the building's strange occurrences. Bartenders sometimes avoid certain corners at night, acknowledging the subtle but persistent sensations of being watched. Dancers on the floor occasionally pause, sensing a sudden chill or catching a glimpse of movement from the corner of their eye. Some patrons embrace the experience, seeing the apparitions and sounds as part of the nightclub's unique character, while others leave abruptly, unnerved by the persistent presence of the unseen. Over time, a quiet understanding has developed. The spirits are part of the club, an invisible audience that remains from a previous era, coexisting with the living in ways both subtle and undeniable. Excalibur nightclub's haunted reputation has made it a destination not just for those seeking entertainment, but for those seeking encounters with the supernatural. Ghost hunters bring cameras, audio recorders, and thermal imaging equipment, hoping to capture evidence of the lingering spirits. Many leave with recordings of unexplained voices, sudden temperature fluctuations, or shadows caught moving against the light. And investigators speak of a palpable weight in certain rooms, a heavy, almost physical sensation that something unseen is present. Despite or perhaps because of its haunted history, Excalibur continues to thrive as a nightclub. The music pulses, the lights dance, and patrons fill the space with laughter and conversation, oblivious or perhaps unafraid of the spirits that share the rooms with them. Yet even in moments of joy, the presence of the past is never far away. The whispers, shadows, sudden chills, and inexplicable movements remind all who enter that the building carries memory, energy, and the lingering traces of those who once called it a place of work, grief, and care. In the heart of Chicago's historic Old Town neighborhood, the Hang-Up stands as a bar steeped in history and whispered legends. Its ivy-covered brick exterior and vintage signage hint at a past far older than the lively nightlife that fills its halls today. Patrons and staff alike have long reported a sense that the building is not entirely theirs, that lingering energies from the past still roam the dark corners, watching and waiting. Among the many stories tied to the Hang-Up, one stands out above the rest: the haunting of a woman in white, whose presence has become the bar's most infamous legend. The origins of this spectral figure are murky, lost in the haze of decades. Locals whisper that she was a young woman who frequented the building long before it became the bustling bar it is now. Some accounts suggest tragedy struck, an untimely death, a lost love, or a violent event. Her spirit remained tethered to the space, unable to move on. Over the years, patrons have described seeing a ghostly woman in a flowing white dress drifting silently across the dance floor or standing near the bar, her features faint, her expression inscrutable. She is rarely visible in full light, appearing mostly in peripheral vision, yet her presence is unmistakable, leaving a sense of quiet unease in her wake. Visitors often notice the haunting in subtle, physical ways. A sudden drop in temperature can sweep across the dance floor or linger near empty tables, leaving patrons shivering inexplicably. Drinks have been reported to tip slightly on the bar, as if nudged by an unseen hand, and chairs occasionally scrape the floor without anyone nearby. Footsteps echo along the wooden floors, distinct and deliberate, yet when approached, no one is there. Many describe these moments as fleeting, almost dreamlike, but they leave a lingering impression that the building is alive with a presence beyond the living. One of the most commonly reported experiences involves the feeling of being watched. Patrons often mention an invisible gaze following them as they move through the bar, a sensation that grows stronger during quieter hours when the dance floor is empty and the hum of conversation fades. Staff members, especially those working late shifts, have recounted brushes with the unseen, a sudden chill when entering a room, the faint rustle of fabric behind them, or the sense that someone is standing just out of sight. These sensations are rarely frightening in a dramatic way, but they create an undercurrent of tension, an unspoken acknowledgement that the space is shared with a presence from another time. The dance floor itself seems to hold the most activity. Guests often report hearing footsteps pacing alongside them, even when they are the only ones present. Some have felt as though someone is dancing just behind them, moving in rhythm with the music. Yet, when they turn, the floor is empty. Shadows flicker in corners and along walls, sometimes forming shapes that resemble a human figure, only to vanish when focused on directly. Those attuned to paranormal phenomena believe these manifestations are residual energy moments from the past, replaying themselves, embedded into the fabric of the building and visible only to the sensitive eye. Audio anomalies are also a frequent occurrence. Patrons have reported faint whispers near empty tables, subtle murmurs that rise and fall without discernible origin. Occasionally, a low sigh or a soft cry can be heard, muffled yet distinct, echoing through the bar's high ceilings. Staff members have experienced objects moving on their own napkins, rustling, glasses sliding slightly, or a chair shifting position, often occurring in areas associated with the woman in white. These events, while sporadic, are consistent enough that many employees treat them as a normal part of working at the hang-up, an unspoken truce between the living and the lingering spirits. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the bar, seeking to capture evidence of the haunting. Thermal cameras often register sudden cold spots near the corners of the dance floor or behind the bar, areas where patrons have felt the most activity. Audio devices frequently pick up unexplained whispers or low-frequency sounds, and photographs occasionally reveal faint, white shapes or blurred figures not visible to the naked eye. Investigators suggest that the combination of the building's age, history of human emotion, and repeated energy from social gatherings creates a unique environment, allowing spirits to manifest and interact with the living. Despite the ghostly reputation, the hang-up thrives as a nightlife destination. Patrons come for the music, drinks, and atmosphere, often oblivious to the unseen audience that shares the space with them. Yet for those who notice the anomalies, the experience is both thrilling and unnerving, a reminder that the past has not entirely released its grip on the present. The juxtaposition of lively activity with subtle paranormal occurrences creates a tension that is at once fascinating and unsettling, giving the bar a unique character unlike any other in Old Town. Many regulars have grown accustomed to the presence of the woman in white. Some leave small tokens at corners or tables, an acknowledgement of her existence and a sign of respect. Staff members often avoid certain areas late at night, preferring not to disturb her apparent territory. While the spirit does not appear malevolent, her presence serves as a quiet reminder of mortality, history, and the lingering impact of human emotion on the spaces we occupy. The hang-up's haunting is not defined by dramatic events or violent apparitions, but by subtle, persistent manifestations that create a living dialogue between the past and present. Every sudden chill, every unexplained noise, and every flicker of movement reinforces the notion that some spaces hold memory, and some spirits remain tethered to the places they once inhabited. For visitors daring enough to step onto the dance floor, the bar offers an encounter with history and the unknown, a chance to feel the presence of a ghostly observer amid the pulse of modern life. In the heart of Chicago's Wicker Park neighborhood, Gold Star Bar stands as a testament to the city's gritty past. From the outside, it might seem like any other neighborhood bar, a modest facade, neon signs flickering in the night, and the hum of conversation spilling onto the street. But for those who know its history, and for those who have felt its lingering energy, Gold Star Bar is far from ordinary. The building has seen its share of violence, most notably a fatal shooting involving the former owner, an event that left an indelible mark on the bar and the surrounding neighborhood. Since that day, locals and visitors alike have reported experiences that suggest the space is haunted, a place where the past refuses to remain silent. One of the most persistent legends associated with Gold Star Bar is that of a woman in lime green. Patrons and staff have described fleeting glimpses of a female figure, always wearing a bright, almost unnatural green dress, moving through the bar or appearing near the exits. She is seldom seen in full light. Often she is glimpsed peripherally, a shadowy presence that disappears when looked at directly. Those who have seen her describe a sense of unease, as if the air around her carries weight, coldness, or sorrow. Some believe she is connected to the violent events of the bar's past. A spirit unable or unwilling to leave the scene of tragedy. Unexplained phenomena at Gold Star Bar are not limited to sightings. Patrons often report sudden drops in temperature, particularly near the bar or in the corners of the room, where shadows seem to gather unnaturally. Drinks sometimes tip or slide across tables without cause, and chairs appear to move on their own. Footsteps echo along the floor even when the bar is otherwise empty, and faint whispers or murmurs have been reported by those sitting quietly in the dimly lit corners. The combined effect of these experiences creates an atmosphere that is both captivating and unsettling, a tension that draws the curious while keeping the wary on edge. The haunting seems to be most pronounced in the areas connected to past violence. The spot where the fatal shooting occurred is said to be a focal point of energy. Staff have recounted feelings of sudden dread or heaviness in this part of the bar, a sensation that passes only when leaving the room. Some visitors describe glimpses of shadows moving along the walls, or flashes of color, sometimes the unmistakable lime green dancing in their peripheral vision. Objects in this area are also prone to inexplicable movement. Glasses tipped over, napkins fluttering as if caught in a breeze, or the faint sound of a chair scraping the floor when no one is nearby. Patrons also report auditory anomalies. Footsteps that do not match the rhythm of those in the bar. Soft whispers just beyond comprehension, and the occasional crash or bang from an unseen source contribute to the haunting reputation. Some claim to have heard a woman calling their name, or the sound of a conversation from the past replaying itself faintly in the background. These sounds, combined with the visual apparitions and sudden temperature shifts, create an immersive, unnerving experience, one that can make even the most skeptical visitor pause and take notice. The bar's long history, combined with its association with violence, seems to create a perfect storm for paranormal activity. Residual energy, the imprint of intense human emotion appears to linger in certain spots, especially where fear, anger, or grief were once strongest. Paranormal investigators who have visited Gold Star Bar note that the building's architecture, with its narrow hallways, low ceilings, and shadowed corners, amplifies the effect, creating pockets of energy that seem almost tangible. Thermal imaging often reveals cold spots in areas where the woman in lime green has been reported, and audio recordings sometimes capture unexplained murmurs or low-frequency noises. Staff members have grown accustomed to the bar's unusual activity. Many avoid certain corners during late-night shifts, recognizing the subtle signs of an unseen presence. Bartenders report feeling cold brushes along their arms or shoulders, and some have noticed objects shifting without explanation. Longtime employees speak of an unspoken understanding. Gold Star Bar is a space shared with forces beyond the living, and respect, or at least caution, is required. Regular patrons often acknowledge this silently, some leaving tokens of acknowledgement or simply avoiding areas that feel heavy or oppressive. Despite tour, perhaps because of its haunted reputation, Gold Star Bar continues to thrive as a gathering place. Locals come for drinks, music, and the vibrant atmosphere, while ghost enthusiasts arrive seeking encounters with the unexplained. The juxtaposition of lively social activity with subtle, eerie phenomena creates a unique environment where the living and the dead coexist in the same space, each influencing the other in ways that are sometimes subtle, sometimes startling. The haunting of Gold Star Bar is not defined by violent apparitions or overtly aggressive spirits, but by the persistent, underlying presence of those who cannot or will not let go. Every shadow, every sudden chill, and every unexplained sound serves as a reminder that history is never truly erased. The woman in lime green remains a central figure in these experiences, a spectral witness to the events of the past, her presence a constant, haunting thread that ties the bar's present to its dark history. For those who enter Gold Star Bar, the experience is both thrilling and unnerving. The mingling of past tragedy with present-day life creates a tension that is palpable, a reminder that some places carry memory, emotion, and energy far beyond what can be seen or touched. Every glance at a flickering shadow, every sudden chill, and every fleeting glimpse of lime green reinforces the idea that some spirits are bound to the places they knew in life or death, and that Gold Star Bar remains a crossroads where the living and the unseen intersect. On Chicago's North Side, the Edgewater Lounge has stood since 1970 as a staple of the local nightlife scene. With its neon signs and warm, inviting interior, it might appear on the surface to be just another neighborhood bar. Yet, behind the music, laughter, and clinking glasses lies a history steeped in mystery and lingering spirits. The lounge is said to be haunted by Mary, its original owner, whose presence continues to make itself known decades after her death. For employees and patrons alike, the Edgewater Lounge is more than a place to drink or socialize. It is a place where the past and the present seem to coexist in subtle and sometimes unsettling ways. Mary was known for her meticulous care of the lounge. She managed the bar with an iron hand, but also infused it with warmth, creating a space where locals could gather safely and enjoy themselves. After her passing, staff began reporting unusual occurrences, many of which are now attributed to her spirit. Footsteps echoing from the upstairs offices, where Mary once spent hours managing the business, are among the most commonly reported phenomena. These steps are described as deliberate and measured, as though Mary is pacing or checking on her beloved lounge, even though no one is physically present. Patrons also report hearing Mary's voice, soft yet unmistakable, calling out instructions or greeting customers. Some hear her voice coming from the upstairs area, while others claim it seems to drift through the lounge itself, blending with the murmur of conversation and background music. The tone of her voice is rarely threatening. Instead, it carries a sense of familiarity and authority, as if she is still watching over the space she once owned. Longtime employees speak of moments when Mary's presence is almost palpable, a heavy but comforting weight that seems to linger in the air. Other manifestations include unexplained movements and sudden temperature changes. Chairs have been observed shifting slightly on their own, and glasses sometimes tip or slide across tables for no discernible reason. Staff working late shifts often note cold spots, particularly on the staircase and in the offices upstairs. Some visitors even report feeling an invisible brush against their arms or shoulders, as though Mary is passing close by, moving silently through the lounge she once managed. These incidents, while subtle, contribute to a persistent sense that the building is not entirely empty, that the lounge continues to host a presence that is deeply tied to its history. The upstairs area, where Mary's office once stood, seems to be the epicenter of the haunting. Many staff members and ghost enthusiasts have ventured into the space during quieter hours, hoping to encounter the unexplained. Reports from these investigations describe footsteps pacing the floors, whispers too faint to fully comprehend, and objects appearing slightly moved from their original positions. Some have seen faint outlines of a figure, often described as a woman wearing the clothing styles common during Mary's era, standing near the windows or along the walls. These sightings are fleeting, almost ethereal, but they leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. Audio anomalies are also common. Patrons have heard soft humming or singing in the empty upstairs rooms, sometimes resembling tunes from decades past. Conversations seem to echo in the stairwell, with words that cannot be fully discerned, creating a sense that Mary's daily routines are replaying themselves in the present. These subtle auditory cues blend with the natural sounds of the lounge, creating an atmosphere that is both familiar and uncanny. A reminder that some parts of the past refuse to remain silent. Despite tour, perhaps because of its haunted reputation, Edgewater Lounge remains a popular destination. Locals continue to visit for drinks, music, and camaraderie, often unaware of the spectral presence that shares the space with them. Paranormal enthusiasts are drawn to the lounge, eager to capture evidence of Mary's lingering spirit through thermal cameras, audio recorders, and photography. Many leave with recordings of unexplained sounds or images of faint, shadowy shapes in the upstairs offices, while skeptics attribute these occurrences to creaking floors, drafts, or overactive imaginations. The consistency and specificity of the reports over decades suggest that there may be something more at work. Staff members who have worked at the lounge for years have developed a cautious respect for Mary's presence. They often avoid certain areas at night, particularly the offices and stairwell, and some leave small tokens, like personal items or notes as an acknowledgement of her lingering guardianship. Regular patrons sometimes share stories of fleeting interactions, from hearing footsteps follow them up the stairs to feeling a gentle presence behind them while sitting at the bar. These shared experiences contribute to a collective understanding that Mary remains a silent but watchful observer, ensuring that the lounge retains its character and energy. The haunting of Edgewater Lounge is not aggressive or malevolent. Instead, it is defined by subtle, persistent manifestations that remind visitors and staff alike that the past remains intertwined with the present. Every footstep echoing upstairs, every faint whisper or sudden chill, serves as a testament to Mary's enduring connection to the space she loved and managed. In a sense, her spirit has become part of the lounge itself, a quiet guardian that continues to watch over patrons long after her passing. Nestled near the quiet streets adjacent to Chicago's historic Rose Hill Cemetery, Fireside Restaurant and Lounge stands as one of the city's oldest and most storied bars. Its brick exterior and warm, glowing lights invite patrons in, offering the promise of comfort, drinks, and conversation. Yet behind the cozy atmosphere lies a history steeped in the uncanny. The lounge's proximity to Rose Hill Cemetery, one of Chicago's most prominent resting places, has long fueled rumors of supernatural activity. Visitors and staff alike report ghostly encounters, unexplained phenomena, and an unshakable sense that the dead may sometimes wander just beyond the bar's walls. Fireside Restaurant and Lounge has operated for decades, hosting countless patrons while silently accumulating layers of history. Some of its most persistent legends center on apparitions seen by employees and guests. Patrons have described fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures in corners or near the bar, disappearing when approached, leaving only the lingering sense that someone or something is watching. Others have witnessed full-bodied apparitions, often dressed in attire from decades past, moving slowly through the dining area or lingering near the entrance. These figures are rarely threatening, but their presence creates an eerie tension, a reminder that the boundary between the living and the dead may be thinner here than in other places. The lounge is especially known for sudden drops in temperature, often localized in areas where apparitions have been reported. Guests seated near the windows or by the old fireplace sometimes report chills sweeping over them, even on warm nights. Staff members working late shifts have noted that these cold spots often coincide with the sensation of unseen eyes observing them. Some have even described feeling a gentle pressure, like a hand brushing along the shoulder, or the subtle movement of air, as if someone has just passed by, leaving the immediate area noticeably colder. Fireside's history and location have created an environment rich in residual energy. Paranormal investigators frequently visit, drawn by reports of ghostly encounters and unexplained auditory phenomena. Many record faint whispers, indistinct voices, or the soft shuffle of footsteps in areas that appear empty. Some have captured audio of what sounds like low, mournful sighs, echoing through the dining rooms and hallways, adding a spectral soundtrack to an otherwise ordinary night. In photographs, subtle shadows and blurred shapes sometimes appear near corners and doorways, suggesting the presence of figures unseen by the naked eye. Perhaps the most consistent stories involve apparitions linked to Rose Hill Cemetery itself. Patrons report that figures sometimes resemble mourners or gravekeepers from the cemetery, appearing dressed in old-fashioned clothing and lingering near entrances or along the back corridors. Others describe seeing shadowy forms peering in through the windows, seemingly observing the activity inside the bar, before vanishing as soon as they are noticed. Some visitors have even felt a pull toward certain tables or corners, as if the spirits are guiding attention toward spots connected to historical events long past. Employees often share personal experiences that add to the bar's mystique. Many recount hearing disembodied footsteps on the staircases, or the subtle creak of floorboards in empty sections of the building. Drinks occasionally tip slightly, chairs slide across the floor, and doors have been known to open and close on their own. While these occurrences are usually brief, they are frequent enough that staff have learned to accept them as part of the lounge's character, an unspoken acknowledgement of the lingering presence that shares the space. The atmosphere of Fireside Restaurant and Lounge creates a unique tension. During the day, the lounge feels warm and inviting, with patrons enjoying their meals and conversation. But as evening falls and shadows grow long, the air seems to shift. The flicker of candlelight and the hum of conversation blend with unexplained noises, chills, and fleeting glimpses of figures from another era. Guests report feeling watched even when the room is crowded, and many describe a sense of curiosity mixed with unease and awareness that they are in a place where history and the spirits of those who lived it remains close at hand. Auditory phenomena are particularly striking at Fireside. Whispered conversations, sometimes in unintelligible tones or partial words, drift through the air. Some guests report hearing their own names called softly, or the faint clatter of objects that seem to move without cause. These sounds are most pronounced near the back rooms and corridors closest to the cemetery, where residual energy is believed to be strongest. Investigators often suggest that these auditory anomalies are echoes of the past, replaying events or emotions embedded into the building over time. Even in the face of the paranormal, Fireside remains a beloved destination. Patrons come for the food, the drinks, and the cozy, historic atmosphere, often unaware of the spectral presences that share the space with them. Paranormal enthusiasts, however, find the lounge irresistible, visiting at different hours to capture evidence of spirits. Some leave with recordings of footsteps, whispers, or sudden cold spots. Others report seeing faint shapes captured in photographs, shadows that defy natural explanation. The haunting at Fireside Restaurant and Lounge is not violent or aggressive, but persistent and subtle. Every unexplained noise, shadowy figure, or chill in the air serves as a reminder that the bar exists in close proximity to history, both the living history of its patrons and the lingering memories of those long gone. The connection to Rose Hill Cemetery amplifies this sense, as the spirits of the departed seem to drift naturally from the graveyard into the lounge, creating a space where the living and the dead coexist. Nestled in Chicago's lively Lakeview neighborhood, Guthrie's Tavern has long been a local gathering spot, drawing patrons with its unassuming exterior, cozy interior, and reputation for strong drinks. Yet beneath the laughter, conversation, and clinking glasses lies a darker story, one that continues to linger in the shadows of the tavern. The bar is said to be haunted by its former owner, a man whose life was consumed by alcohol and whose death came as a result of his excessive drinking. Though decades have passed, many who enter Guthrie's Tavern claim that his presence still lingers, a spectral reminder of a life ended too soon. Locals speak of the former owner with a mixture of curiosity and unease. According to legend, he was a fixture in the tavern, seen nightly tending to his patrons while nursing his own drink. His devotion to the bar was both a labor of love and a personal curse. Over time, his drinking habits worsened, and he eventually succumbed to the very addiction that defined his life. Though he is long gone, patrons and employees alike have reported experiences that suggest his spirit never truly left the place he called home. Many of the haunting experiences center on the tavern's quieter corners and dimly lit areas. Guests have reported hearing footsteps echoing through empty hallways, or the subtle creak of floorboards in areas where no one is present. Some describe the sensation of being watched, a heavy and almost tangible presence that seems to follow them from table to table. Others have claimed that glasses or bottles have been shifted slightly when they were not looking, or that the sound of a chair scraping across the floor emerges unexpectedly from the darkened corners of the room. These incidents are sporadic, yet frequent enough to have earned the tavern a reputation among locals for being more than just a place to drink. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves unexplained noises. Patrons often hear muffled murmurs, the clinking of glasses, or low guttural sighs that cannot be attributed to anyone in the room. Some guests claim to have overheard snippets of conversation, fragments of words that are impossible to piece together, yet leave an undeniable impression of a human presence. Many interpret these sounds as residual energy, echoes of the former owner's life and habits repeating themselves in the spaces he once roamed. Temperature anomalies are another hallmark of the tavern's haunting. Guests have described sudden drops in temperature when walking through certain areas, particularly near the bar and in the corners of the lounge. The air often feels heavier in these spots, as if the room itself is aware of an unseen occupant. Some patrons have reported the sensation of cold fingers brushing against their arms or shoulders, brief yet unmistakable, leaving them startled and uneasy. These experiences are especially common during late-night hours, when the tavern is quieter and the energy of the past is more pronounced. Visual sightings, though less common than auditory and tactile experiences, are among the most compelling reports. A few patrons have claimed to glimpse a shadowy figure, often near the bar, resembling the former owner. The figure is typically described as slightly hunched, carrying an air of melancholy, sometimes holding a drink as if continuing his nightly routine from beyond the grave. These sightings are fleeting, often appearing at the edge of vision or in the reflection of a mirror, only to vanish when focused on directly. Witnesses often describe a sense of recognition, as though they are seeing someone they know intimately, even if they never met him in life. The haunting extends to objects within the tavern as well. Some employees have noticed bottles or bar tools being shifted inexplicably, while napkins or coasters may flutter slightly, as if moved by an invisible hand. Patrons sometimes report that chairs are displaced or small items fall from shelves for no apparent reason. These subtle occurrences reinforce the sense that Guthrie's Tavern is not merely a building but a shared space between the living and the lingering spirit of the former owner. Despite its reputation for the supernatural, Guthrie's Tavern remains a popular destination. Locals come for the drinks, the atmosphere, and the connection to a storied part of Lakeview's history, often unaware of the presence that quietly observes them. Paranormal enthusiasts, however, find the tavern irresistible, drawn to the stories of ghostly footsteps, cold spots, and fleeting apparitions. Some leave with audio recordings of unexplained murmurs, photographs capturing faint shadows, or the unmistakable sense of having been watched by a presence beyond the living. Staff members have developed a cautious familiarity with the haunting. Many avoid certain corners or hallways during late-night shifts, acknowledging the presence of the former owner without fear or confrontation. Some leave small tokens, like a glass left on a particular table or a note of acknowledgement, out of respect for the lingering spirit. Regular patrons, especially those who have witnessed strange occurrences, often adopt an unspoken understanding. Guthrie's Tavern is a shared space, one where the past and present coexist quietly but persistently. The haunting of Guthrie's Tavern is not aggressive, nor is it violent. Instead, it is a persistent, subtle presence that reminds those who enter of the life once lived within its walls. Every footstep, every cold spot, every inexplicable sound is a testament to a man who loved his bar, yet was ultimately claimed by it. The tavern exists today as both a lively gathering place and a vessel of memory, preserving the traces of the past in the form of spectral whispers, fleeting shadows, and the enduring sense that some spirits never truly leave. On the northwest side of Chicago, near the infamous site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, sits Clark Bar, a neighborhood tavern with a dark reputation. While the building itself appears unassuming, those who know its history or have experienced its unexplained phenomena understand that Clark Bar is far from ordinary. Locals and paranormal enthusiasts alike report ghostly encounters, sudden chills, and a lingering sense that the past refuses to remain buried. The proximity to one of Chicago's most notorious crime scenes has made Clark Bar a hotspot for stories of spirits, unexplained sounds, and shadowy figures. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929 left an indelible mark on the city, and some believe that the violent energy of that night has seeped into the surrounding area. Clark Bar, situated just blocks from the original massacre site, is said to be a nexus where the residual energy of that tragedy still lingers. Patrons have reported hearing footsteps that echo unnaturally, often when the bar is empty or nearly deserted. Some claim to feel a sudden pressure on their shoulders or a cold draft brushing past them, as if invisible presences are moving through the room. Ghostly apparitions are among the most compelling stories surrounding Clark Bar. Witnesses describe figures dressed in 1920s attire, often appearing near the bar or in the corners of the lounge, only to vanish when approached. Some claim to see men in suits, hats tilted low, lingering silently near the windows or along the stairwells. Others report glimpses of shadowy forms in the reflection of mirrors, standing where no one is physically present. These sightings are fleeting but leave a profound impression on those who encounter them, a reminder that history has left its mark in more than just memory. Temperature anomalies are another frequent occurrence. Guests often report sudden drops in temperature in specific areas of the bar, particularly near the corners and along the back hallway. The cold seems to come from nowhere, enveloping individuals in a chilling embrace that contrasts sharply with the otherwise warm interior. Bartenders and staff working late shifts describe the same phenomenon, feeling icy air sweep past them in hallways that remain otherwise undisturbed. These cold spots are often accompanied by a sense of unease, a quiet pressure that seems to demand acknowledgement. Auditory phenomena are common and unsettling. Patrons have heard faint murmurs and low whispers that cannot be traced to anyone nearby. Occasionally, the clatter of glasses, the scrape of a chair, or the sound of footsteps is reported, even when no one is in the area. Staff members have recounted times when these sounds seem to follow them through the bar, starting in one room and continuing as they move along the corridors. Some describe hearing faint, urgent voices calling names, as if echoing from the past, their meaning just beyond comprehension. These sounds, paired with visual sightings and temperature shifts, create an atmosphere thick with tension and unease. One of the most persistent legends at Clark Bar involves shadowy figures near the original location of the massacre. Patrons have reported seeing multiple figures standing silently in the corners, sometimes appearing to reenact gestures or conversations. Some even claim to see flashes of movement resembling the events of that tragic day, figures disappearing into walls or fading before anyone can react. While skeptics suggest that the mind fills in the gaps due to the site's notorious history, the consistency of these reports over decades has made Clark Bar a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts. Staff members have adapted to the presence of the unexplained. Many avoid certain areas during quiet hours, especially the hallways and back corners where sightings and cold spots are most frequently reported. Some employees leave small tokens, such as a glass or napkin, as an unspoken acknowledgement of the spirits they believe inhabit the bar. Regular patrons often share stories of fleeting encounters, from unexplained footsteps to glimpses of figures in the shadows, creating a shared understanding that Clark Bar exists in a unique space between the living and the spectral. Despite, or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, Clark Bar continues to thrive as a gathering place. Visitors come for drinks, conversation, and a neighborhood atmosphere, often unaware of the subtle supernatural activity around them. Paranormal enthusiasts, however, are drawn by the promise of encounters with history's echoes. Thermal cameras, audio recorders, and photographs sometimes capture evidence of phenomena, shadowy shapes, faint figures, unexplained noises, or sudden cold spots, further solidifying the bar's reputation as a haunted landmark. The haunting at Clark Bar is not violent but persistent, subtle, and deeply tied to the history of the area. Every cold draft, unexplained noise, and fleeting figure serves as a reminder that the events of February 14, 1929, are not entirely forgotten. The spirits, it seems, have chosen to linger near the site of their final moments, creating an uneasy but fascinating coexistence with the patrons who enter the bar decades later. Tucked away in the vibrant neighborhood of Logan Square, Chicago, the Drifter has long been a local favorite for those seeking a hidden escape from the bustle of the city. Its unassuming exterior and narrow, inconspicuous entrance led down a flight of stairs into a dimly lit cocktail bar, where vintage decor and the faint scent of aged spirits create a mysterious, speakeasy atmosphere. Patrons come for the drinks, the ambiance, and the sense of stepping back in time, but some find themselves experiencing something far stranger, an eerie feeling that they are not alone. The Drifter has earned a reputation for paranormal activity, with numerous accounts of whispers, footsteps, and the sensation of being watched, making it a place where history and the supernatural seem to converge. The allure of the Drifter lies partly in its secrecy. Hidden behind a discreet doorway, the bar feels like a world apart from the streets above. Once inside, the low lighting, vintage furnishings, and antique mirrors evoke an era long past, inviting patrons to relax and immerse themselves in the atmosphere. Yet it is precisely this combination of history and seclusion that may contribute to the experiences reported by visitors. Over the years, multiple accounts have emerged of unexplained phenomena, ranging from subtle sensations to fleeting glimpses of figures in the shadows. One of the most common experiences reported by patrons is the feeling of being watched. Guests often describe sitting at the bar or at small tables, only to sense a presence just beyond their peripheral vision. The sensation is subtle at first, a chill running down the spine, a feeling of eyes following them, but it grows more pronounced in the quiet corners of the bar or near the staircase that leads to the basement. Some visitors have claimed that the feeling intensifies when they are alone, as if an unseen observer is drawn to those who are isolated in the dim light. Whispers are another hallmark of the Drifter's haunting. Patrons report hearing soft, unintelligible murmurs, sometimes resembling faint conversations or half-formed sentences. These sounds often occur in areas where the bar is quietest, such as near the back wall or behind the velvet curtains that separate seating areas. Guests describe the whispers as fleeting, always just beyond understanding, yet unmistakably present. Staff have occasionally heard these same whispers while preparing drinks or moving through the space after hours, lending credibility to the idea that something unseen may inhabit the bar. Footsteps are also frequently reported, especially in the basement and along the narrow hallways that connect the different rooms. Patrons and staff alike describe hearing the scrape of shoes against the floor or the creak of old wooden boards. Despite the absence of anyone in the area, sometimes the sounds appear to follow a person as they move, stopping abruptly when they pause, then continuing when they resume walking. These unexplained noises contribute to a pervasive sense of unease, reinforcing the impression that the Drifter is not merely a bar but a shared space between the living and a lingering presence from the past. Visual phenomena, though less common, have also been reported. Some visitors claim to have seen shadowy figures moving in the corners of their vision, often near the staircase or behind the bar. These figures are fleeting, vanishing when observed directly, leaving only the memory of movement and the lingering sense that someone or something is nearby. Mirrors in the lounge have occasionally reflected shapes that do not correspond to any person present, further adding to the bar's reputation for paranormal activity. Temperature anomalies are another feature of the Drifter's haunted ambience. Patrons have reported sudden chills in certain areas, most commonly along the staircase and in secluded corners. The air can shift abruptly from warm to cold without explanation, often accompanied by a subtle pressure that feels almost like a presence brushing past. Staff have noted that these cold spots tend to occur during quieter hours, particularly late at night, when the bar is nearly empty, suggesting a connection between the energy of the space and the experiences reported by those who enter it. Despite the subtle and sometimes unsettling activity, the Drifter remains a beloved destination. Its patrons are drawn by the unique ambience, expertly crafted cocktails, and the sense of entering a world apart from the modern streets of Logan Square. For those aware of its haunted reputation, visiting the bar becomes a layered experience, one part social gathering, one part exploration of the unseen. Paranormal enthusiasts are often attracted to the Drifter, bringing recording equipment and cameras in hopes of capturing evidence of the unexplained. Many leave with audio recordings of whispers or the faint sound of footsteps, and some claim to have captured shadowy figures on camera. Staff members have learned to coexist with the lingering presence. Many avoid certain corners or the staircase during late-night shifts, acknowledging the spectral observer without fear. Some leave small gestures, such as a drink left on a particular table or a note of respect, as a quiet acknowledgement of the entity believed to inhabit the bar. Regular patrons often adopt an unspoken awareness of the space, understanding that the Drifter is both a social haven and a place where history and, perhaps, something beyond it remains alive. The haunting at the Drifter is subtle, never aggressive, but persistent. The feeling of being watched, the whispers, the cold drafts, and the fleeting shadows all serve as reminders that the bar is a space shared with the past. Patrons enter for drinks and conversation, but many leave with a heightened sense that some part of history lingers still, watching from the shadows, moving through the dimly lit rooms, and maintaining a quiet presence in the hidden corners of Logan Square. Nestled in the bustling River North neighborhood of Chicago, 3 Dots and a Dash is a tiki bar that transports guests to a tropical paradise, complete with bamboo accents, colorful cocktails, and the soft hum of exotic music. Its playful exterior and immersive decor make it a popular spot for locals and tourists alike. Yet beneath the vibrant facade lies a lingering presence tied to the bar's past. Built atop the remains of a former Prohibition-era speakeasy, the space carries with it whispers of history, and many patrons have reported unsettling experiences, strange sounds, and the sense that they are not entirely alone. Though 3 Dots and a Dash is celebrated for its craft cocktails and lively atmosphere, regular visitors and staff alike speak in hushed tones about the inexplicable phenomena that occasionally interrupt the tropical ambience. The bar's hidden past as a speakeasy contributes to its eerie reputation. During Prohibition, these secret spaces often witnessed illegal dealings, clandestine meetings, and occasional violence. Some believe that the energy of the past, the tension, secrecy, and occasional tragedies has seeped into the very walls, lingering long after the original patrons and proprietors have vanished. Guests have reported feeling sudden chills that seem out of place in the warm, humid atmosphere created to mimic a Polynesian paradise. These cold spots often occur near corners of the bar or along narrow hallways that connect the main lounge to storage rooms and the restroom area. Patrons describe the sensation as a sudden, icy breeze brushing past them, sometimes accompanied by the feeling of unseen eyes observing their every move. Even in crowded settings, some visitors feel an inexplicable pressure or heaviness, as if a presence is pressing subtly against them, a reminder that the past is never truly gone. Unexplained sounds are also a common feature of the bar's haunting. Guests have reported faint whispers, soft footsteps, or muted voices that cannot be attributed to anyone nearby. Sometimes, the sounds appear to move across the room, following patrons from one table to another, only to vanish entirely when attention is focused directly on them. Bartenders working late-night shifts often hear the creak of floorboards, the clink of bottles, or low, murmured voices that seem to come from areas of the bar that are otherwise empty. These occurrences are sporadic, but persistent enough to draw the attention of those sensitive to paranormal activity. Visual phenomena have been reported, though they are rare. Some visitors claim to see shadowy figures moving at the edge of their vision, often near the bar or behind the bamboo partitions that divide seating areas. These figures are fleeting, vanishing when directly observed, leaving behind only a lingering sense that someone or something is present. Mirrors, a common feature in tiki decor, sometimes reflect shapes or movements that do not correspond to anyone in the room, further reinforcing the idea that the bar exists as a shared space between the living and unseen entities. The atmosphere of 3 Dots and a Dash adds to the haunting in subtle ways. The tropical decor, dim lighting, and sound of gentle waves create an immersive experience that encourages relaxation, yet the hidden past intrudes unexpectedly. Patrons report that certain areas, particularly near the back bar, stairwells, and corners, exude a quiet tension, an energy that contrasts sharply with the otherwise festive environment. It is as if the history embedded in the walls refuses to be entirely masked by the tiki-themed veneer, asserting itself in quiet, unpredictable moments. Staff members have come to recognize the patterns of the haunting, adapting to its presence rather than confronting it directly. Many avoid certain areas during late-night shifts, especially the stairwell leading to the storage area, where cold spots and unusual sounds are most frequently reported. Some bartenders leave small tokens, such as a glass or a folded napkin, in acknowledgement of the lingering presence. Regular patrons often develop a sense of respect for the unseen, understanding that the bar is not only a social space but also a vessel for memories and energies that transcend the ordinary. Despite its supernatural reputation, Three Dots and a Dash thrives as a destination for drinks and entertainment. Its haunted history only adds to its allure, attracting paranormal enthusiasts eager to experience the space after hours or during quieter times. Visitors report recording faint whispers on audio devices, capturing subtle shadowy movements in photographs, or feeling cold touches that leave an unmistakable impression. Even for those skeptical of the paranormal, the stories contribute to the bar's mystique, enhancing the overall experience and creating an unforgettable sense of intrigue. The haunting at Three Dots and a Dash is subtle rather than aggressive, a quiet presence that manifests through cold spots, whispers, footsteps, and fleeting shadows. These phenomena serve as reminders that the past lingers in unexpected places, especially in locations steeped in history and secrecy. The bar's former life as a Prohibition-era speakeasy ensures that its walls carry echoes of hidden conversations, clandestine meetings, and the emotions of those who once frequented the space. For those who step inside, the experience of Three Dots and a Dash is layered. On one level, it is a vibrant tiki bar, filled with laughter, music, and the scent of exotic cocktails. On another, it is a place where the past quietly asserts itself, a subtle reminder that history and perhaps something beyond it remains present. Patrons may notice a chill, hear a whisper, or glimpse a shadow, and in doing so, they become part of a story that spans decades, connecting them to the secrets and spirits that continue to inhabit the space. On Lower Michigan Avenue, just steps from the bustling loop of Chicago, sits the legendary Billy Goat Tavern, famous for its cheeseburger and its quirky, no-nonsense staff. The tavern has long been a beloved local institution. Tourists flock to experience the humor, the atmosphere, and the tie to the Cubs' infamous curse. But behind the laughter and neon signs lies a lesser-known, more chilling reputation. For decades, patrons and employees have whispered about strange occurrences, sudden cold spots, inexplicable sounds, and fleeting shadows that suggest the Billy Goat Tavern may be more than just a lively eatery. The history of the Billy Goat Tavern dates back to the 1930s, founded by William Billy Goat Sionis, a Greek immigrant whose larger-than-life personality left a lasting mark on Chicago. Beyond the culinary contributions and the legend of the Cubs' curse, stories began to circulate of something unusual lurking within the walls. Employees working late nights in the dimly lit back rooms or behind the counter would occasionally feel the sense of being watched. Some report seeing shadows flit across the floor, just at the edge of their vision, only to vanish when attention is turned toward them. The phenomenon is subtle but persistent. Patrons have occasionally remarked on the eerie sensation that someone or something is following them as they navigate the narrow corridors between booths and kitchen areas. Some describe a cold breeze brushing past, despite the warmth of the crowded tavern, while others recount hearing soft murmurs, footsteps, or even distant laughter when no one else is nearby. The sounds are never threatening, but they carry a weight, a reminder that the building itself seems to harbor memories of the past. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves the basement and storage areas. Staff members claim that boxes, utensils, and other items sometimes move inexplicably, shifted as though by unseen hands. Late at night, when the tavern is closed to the public, the creak of floorboards or the clatter of objects in the shadows is enough to make even the most skeptical employee pause. Some have recounted seeing a shadowy figure standing silently in a corner, or a pair of eyes reflecting the dim light of a single overhead bulb. These sightings are always fleeting, vanishing when approached, leaving only the sense of a presence lingering just out of reach. Temperature anomalies add another layer to the tavern's haunted reputation. Patrons and employees alike describe sudden drops in temperature in specific areas, particularly near the back booths and stairwells leading to the basement. The chill can be sharp and immediate, causing goosebumps and a sense of unease that contrasts sharply with the warm, lively atmosphere elsewhere. These cold spots are often accompanied by the feeling that someone is nearby, a presence that cannot be seen but can be felt in the bones. Auditory experiences are another hallmark of the tavern's strange occurrences. Whispered voices, sometimes indistinct, and at other times sounding almost like names being called, have been reported throughout the dining area and behind the counter. Occasionally, patrons describe hearing the clinking of glassware or the scraping of chairs when no one is moving, as if the echoes of past patrons and staff have been captured and replayed by the building itself. Some long-term employees have come to recognize a pattern, noting that these sounds are more frequent during quieter periods or late-night hours. Visual phenomena are also part of the tavern's lore. Shadowy figures, often just beyond clear focus, appear near the booths, the corners of hallways, or close to the stairwell. Mirrors occasionally reflect movements or figures that are not present in reality. Patrons recount seeing someone in vintage attire, resembling the staff or customers of decades past, standing silently before vanishing without a trace. These glimpses, though brief, leave a lasting impression, a reminder that the building's past is not entirely gone. Many believe that the hauntings are connected to the tavern's history, its founder, or perhaps the long line of patrons who have passed through over the decades. William Cianis, with his larger-than-life persona and deep ties to the city, left an indelible mark not only on Chicago's culinary scene but also on the aura of the tavern itself. The tavern witnessed countless stories, joyous celebrations, and the occasional heartbreak, and some suggest that the emotional energy of these moments may have lingered, manifesting as the subtle but undeniable paranormal activity reported by staff and guests. Despite its haunted reputation, the Billy Goat Tavern thrives. Patrons continue to enjoy its classic cheeseburgers, lively banter, and quirky charm, often unaware of the subtle phenomena occurring around them. For those in the know, however, a visit becomes a layered experience. The enjoyment of food and drink, mixed with the thrill of sensing something just beyond perception. Paranormal enthusiasts are drawn to the tavern, hoping to capture evidence of shadows, cold spots, or unexplained sounds. And some report recordings of whispered voices or fleeting figures caught on camera. Staff members have learned to coexist with the unexplained, often treating the occurrences with quiet acknowledgement rather than fear. Late-night shifts are approached with an unspoken understanding of the tavern's hidden dimension, and some leave small gestures like a glass of water or a napkin as a token of respect for the lingering presence. Regular patrons, especially those familiar with the stories, develop an unspoken awareness that adds a layer of intrigue to the otherwise lively environment. The haunting at Billy Goat Tavern is subtle, persistent, and oddly comforting to some. It is a presence that whispers rather than shouts, that lingers in the corners, shadows, and cold drafts, reminding visitors of the deep history embedded in the walls. Patrons may laugh, converse, and enjoy their meals, but the sensation that something else resides there adds a dimension of depth to the experience. On the bustling streets of Andersonville, Chicago, Simon's Tavern sits as a seemingly unassuming bar, drawing in locals and visitors alike with its cozy interior, warm lighting, and a reputation for well-crafted drinks. Yet beyond the laughter, clinking glasses, and lively chatter, Simon's Tavern harbors a shadowed past, whispered among patrons who claim the bar is haunted by a lingering presence. Much of the lore revolves around a tragic love affair, a story told in hushed tones, and an eerie mural that dominates one wall of the tavern, adding a layer of haunting intrigue to the otherwise inviting space. The mural, painted decades ago, depicts a romantic scene frozen in time. A couple in period attire, gazing at one another beneath the glow of lamplight. The detail is striking, almost lifelike, and many patrons admit to feeling that the figures watch them as they move about the room. Those sensitive to the paranormal describe a subtle shift in the air when standing near the mural, a sensation that the love depicted has not faded, but has instead taken on a restless energy. Cold spots, the occasional brush of unseen fingers, or the inexplicable feeling of being observed, are most frequently reported near this wall, suggesting that the tragic story etched into paint may have left an imprint on the space itself. The legend tells of a young couple from the early 20th century. The man was a bartender, and the woman was a patron who visited the tavern often. Their love was intense but fraught with obstacles, including disapproving family members and social pressures of the era. One fateful night, the lovers argued in the bar, their voices rising above the ambient noise. In a moment of despair and rage, one of them met a tragic end within the walls of the tavern. From that point forward, locals say, the surviving lover's spirit remained behind, miffed and unsettled, wandering the tavern in eternal unrest. Patrons and staff alike have reported subtle, yet undeniable, paranormal phenomena over the years. The most commonly cited experiences include sudden chills, particularly when sitting near the mural or along the back booths. These cold spots are often abrupt, cutting through the warm atmosphere created by the bar's lights and the body heat of its guests. Even during the busiest hours, certain corners feel markedly cooler, as if an unseen presence has passed by. Whispers and murmurs also characterize the haunting. Guests have described hearing soft, sorrowful tones, like fragments of a conversation or a low, emotional sigh. The voices are fleeting and indistinct, but they carry a weight of emotion, loneliness, regret, and lingering affection. Staff members working late have occasionally paused mid-task, sensing that someone is nearby, only to find the space empty. These auditory experiences are subtle, almost polite in their intrusion. Yet they leave a lasting impression on anyone attuned to them. Visual phenomena are rarer but equally unsettling. Patrons occasionally glimpse shadows flitting near the mural, fleeting shapes that seem to echo the forms of the figures depicted in the painting. Some have reported seeing a silhouette in period attire, standing near a corner, vanishing when approached. Mirrors within the tavern have occasionally reflected shapes or movements that cannot be accounted for, lending credence to the idea that the spirits of the tragic lovers may still linger, caught between past and present. Items moving on their own have also been reported. Coasters, napkins, and occasionally glassware appear to shift slightly, as if nudged by an invisible hand. While these incidents are subtle, they contribute to the overall sense that the tavern is a shared space between the living and a lingering presence. Staff members, familiar with these occurrences, often leave small gestures of acknowledgement, such as a clean glass placed at the edge of a table or a folded napkin in the corner, as if to respect the invisible guest. Despite its haunting reputation, Simon's Tavern thrives as a community gathering place. Patrons come for the drinks, the conversation, and the cozy ambience, often unaware of the subtle spectral activity occurring around them. For those who are aware, visiting the tavern becomes a layered experience: part social enjoyment, part encounter with the unexplained. Paranormal enthusiasts are drawn to Simon's Tavern, hoping to capture recordings of whispers or glimpses of shadows, and some have shared faint audio evidence of murmured phrases or the soft shuffle of footsteps in areas no one occupies. The haunting is subtle, never aggressive, but persistent. It is a quiet presence that manifests through chills, whispers, shadows, and fleeting touches, creating an atmosphere that is both intriguing and slightly unsettling. The tragic love story behind the mural gives the phenomenon context, a narrative that explains the lingering emotional energy and the sense that someone is watching from just beyond perception. Staff members have adapted to this presence over time, learning to coexist with it. Late-night shifts are approached with an unspoken understanding of the space's unique energy. Some leave small offerings or simply acknowledge the presence with a quiet nod, maintaining a delicate balance between everyday life and the echoes of history. patrons to develop an awareness, noting subtle shifts in the environment without allowing them to interfere with the enjoyment of their evening. Visiting Simon's Tavern is more than just a night out. It is a journey into a space layered with history, emotion, and the paranormal. The mural stands as a silent witness. The shadows and whispers serve as reminders of the past, and the cold spots and fleeting touches hint at a presence that refuses to leave. Guests may laugh, drink, and converse, yet somewhere in the corners, the spirit of a miffed lover remains, quietly observing, lingering in the atmosphere, and ensuring that the tragic tale that began decades ago continues to resonate in the present. Tucked away in the vibrant streets of Wicker Park, the Violet Hour gained a reputation not only for its expertly crafted cocktails, but also for its enigmatic presence. Known for a hidden entrance behind a nondescript facade, the bar cultivated an air of secrecy that drew patrons seeking an intimate and exclusive experience. Inside, the dim lighting, velvet curtains, and carefully curated decor created an atmosphere of elegance and sophistication. Yet, behind the alluring ambience, whispers of a lingering presence circulated among visitors and staff. Even during its years of operation, the Violet Hour developed a reputation for ghostly encounters, an undercurrent of the supernatural that quietly shaped the bar's mystique. The building that housed the Violet Hour had a history predating the cocktail culture that later defined it. Stories circulated of prior residents who endured hardship or met untimely deaths, and local lore suggested that traces of their energy remained embedded in the very walls. Patrons who frequented the Violet Hour began noticing subtle yet unexplainable phenomena, uneasy sensation that they were being observed, shadows that shifted in corners, and sudden drops in temperature that defied the carefully controlled climate of the bar. One of the most commonly reported experiences involved the hidden entrance. The small doorway, easily overlooked from the street, added to the sense of secrecy and exclusivity. But it also became a focal point for strange occurrences. Guests sometimes described the feeling that someone or something lingered just beyond the door, waiting or watching, even as the front of the bar bustled with conversation and laughter. Those who paused near the entrance felt a sudden chill, a tangible awareness of a presence that was not visible to the naked eye. Staff members often reported similar sensations, feeling cold drafts or the brush of an unseen hand as they moved supplies in and out. Inside the bar, auditory phenomena were frequently reported. Patrons occasionally heard faint whispers, murmurs that seemed to come from the corners of the room or behind closed doors. Some described hearing snippets of conversation that did not belong to anyone present, while others reported the soft clinking of glassware or the footsteps of a person walking behind them, only to find the space empty when they turned. Bartenders and servers, accustomed to the rhythm of a busy night, would sometimes freeze mid-task, sensing that someone was near, yet seeing nothing in the dimly lit interior. These moments were brief but left a lasting impression, a subtle reminder that the space held more than just the energy of the living. Visual encounters, though rare, added to the bar's eerie reputation. Patrons sometimes glimpsed fleeting shadows at the edge of their vision, particularly near the velvet curtains that separated the lounge from the private rooms. Mirrors occasionally reflected movements or shapes that did not correspond to anyone in the bar, amplifying the sense that the past lingered alongside the present. Some guests even reported seeing a figure, dressed in vintage attire, standing silently in the back of the lounge before disappearing when approached. These fleeting images, subtle as they were, reinforced a notion that the Violet Hour was a place where time and memory overlapped, a liminal space caught between past and present. Temperature anomalies were another hallmark of the hauntings. Patrons described sudden drops in warmth, especially in areas near the hidden entrance, corners of the lounge, and the stairwell leading to storage or private rooms. The cold would arrive abruptly, cutting through the otherwise cozy ambience, and often seemed to be accompanied by a sensation of being watched. Staff learned to recognize these pockets of chill, noting that they often coincided with periods of quiet or after the last patrons had departed. Even when the bar was full, These subtle shifts created a sense that the building itself was alive with residual energy. Despite, or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the Violet Hour remained a destination for those seeking an experience that was both social and enigmatic. Patrons who were aware of the stories often treated the bar with a mixture of curiosity and reverence, observing the corners, listening for whispers, and noting cold spots as part of the overall experience. Paranormal enthusiasts were drawn to the location, hoping to capture audio, visual, or other evidence of the ghostly activity. Some recorded faint murmurs, while others captured brief shadows in photographs that could not be explained by ordinary circumstances. Staff members adapted to the haunting in quiet ways, acknowledging the presence without confronting it. Items left slightly askew, a glass placed at the edge of a table, or a napkin folded in a corner, were sometimes interpreted as small gestures of respect for the lingering energy. Late-night shifts carried an unspoken understanding of the building's unique character, blending the ordinary duties of bartending with the subtle awareness of unseen observers. Patrons often sensed this adaptation, noting that the bar had a unique energy that could not be replicated elsewhere. The haunting at the Violet Hour was never aggressive or threatening. It was subtle, persistent, and quietly present, manifesting through cold drafts, whispers, fleeting shadows, and the sensation of being watched. The bar's hidden entrance, artistic decor, and the history embedded in its walls created a layered environment where the past remained perceptible. Guests could enjoy cocktails, conversation, and live music, while also encountering a space that retained echoes of those who came before. Though the Violet Hour has permanently closed, its stories persist, carried by the memories of patrons, staff, and those who chronicled its history. The space that once hosted laughter, music, and clandestine drinks retains its reputation as a site where the supernatural brushed up against the everyday. Even in absence, the tales of whispers, shadows, and unseen presences continue to captivate and intrigue those drawn to Chicago's haunted locales. In the heart of Pilsen, Chicago, Thalia Hall stands as a historic landmark, its ornate facade a testament to the city's vibrant past. Built in 1892 by John Dussek, the building was originally conceived as a mixed-use space, combining retail stores, offices, and a grand performance hall. Over the decades, Thalia Hall has witnessed generations of cultural and social evolution, from live performances and community gatherings to modern-day events and concerts. Yet amid the beauty and grandeur, whispers of a more unsettling presence have persisted, drawing curiosity and unease from those who enter its storied halls. Visitors to Thalia Hall often remark on the building's distinct energy. Some speak of an inexplicable sensation of being watched, as if the weight of history lingers in the air. The cavernous spaces, with their high ceilings, decorative moldings, and intricate woodwork, seem to amplify every creak and sigh, lending an eerie quality to ordinary sounds. Patrons attending shows or exploring the building after hours have reported hearing footsteps echoing in empty corridors, whispers carried by drafty hallways, and doors opening or closing without visible cause. The experiences are subtle, yet persistent, creating an atmosphere of quiet tension that contrasts sharply with the liveliness of events. One of the most frequently mentioned phenomena occurs in the upper floors, where offices and storage spaces once thrived. Guests have reported sudden drops in temperature as they ascend the staircases, an abrupt chill that seems to settle in the bones. Staff members have noted that lights sometimes flicker, casting fleeting shadows that appear to move independently of the occupants. These occurrences, though easily dismissed as old wiring or drafty construction, have consistently coincided with a sense of being in the presence of something unseen. Auditory anomalies are a common aspect of Thalia Hall's reputation. Visitors have described hearing indistinct voices, laughter, or murmurs in areas where no one else is present. Occasionally, the sound of footsteps on the balcony or behind curtains is reported, particularly during quiet periods when the building is closed to the public. Some have even claimed to hear faint piano music, delicate notes echoing as if from a bygone performance. though no instrument is currently in play. These sounds are fleeting and often vanish the moment attention is directed toward them, leaving only the lingering sensation that the past has not entirely departed. Visual encounters, though less frequent, add a layer of intrigue to the haunting. Patrons have occasionally glimpsed shadowy figures moving at the periphery of their vision, disappearing when they turn to face them. Others have reported seeing fleeting reflections in mirrors or windows, shapes that do not match the movements of those present. Some describe the impression of someone standing silently at the top of a staircase or near the edge of a balcony, only to vanish when approached. These glimpses, though brief, leave a lasting sense of unease, a reminder that Thalia Hall retains memories within its walls. The haunting of Thalia Hall is not malevolent, but it is undeniable. Visitors often describe a feeling of presence that is watchful rather than threatening, as if the spirits of performers, patrons, and workers who once filled the building linger quietly. The echoes of applause, conversation, and music from decades past seem to mingle with the present, creating a layered atmosphere where the line between history and the supernatural blurs. Some paranormal enthusiasts have ventured into the building to capture audio or visual evidence, recording faint murmurs, footsteps, or shadowy movements that defy explanation. Staff and performers who spend extended time within Thalia Hall have adapted to the unusual occurrences, treating them as part of the building's character rather than a cause for fear. Late-night rehearsals, setup, or cleanup are approached with an unspoken awareness of the building's unique energy. Many have learned to acknowledge these presences with quiet respect, understanding that the history embedded in the walls carries more than just memory. It carries echoes that can be felt by those attuned to them. Patrons, too often develop a heightened awareness, noting the subtle chill, whispers, or flickers in light as part of the experience of visiting this historic landmark. The architectural design of Thalia Hall contributes to its haunting. The expansive hall, high ceilings, and intricate woodwork create acoustics that can carry even the faintest sounds, amplifying whispers or footsteps that might otherwise go unnoticed. Drafts moving through old windows or poorly sealed doors can carry sounds in unpredictable ways, further blending the line between natural and supernatural causes. Yet, despite these explanations, the consistency of reports over decades suggests that something more intangible lingers in the building, a presence rooted in the history, energy, and human experiences that have unfolded within its walls. Visitors who encounter the unexplained at Thalia Hall often leave with a mixture of fascination and awe. The building becomes more than a venue. It transforms into a space where past and present intersect, where history manifests in whispers, shadows, and subtle sensations. It is this interplay between life and memory, between the seen and unseen, that gives Thalia Hall its unique character and enduring mystique. Even today, the stories continue to circulate, passed along by performers, staff, and patrons who have felt the presence of something beyond the ordinary. The tales of ghostly footsteps, sudden chills, whispering voices, and fleeting shadows serve as reminders that Thalia Hall is more than just brick, mortar, and plastered. Is a living testament to the live stories and energy that have shaped it over more than a century. Standing proudly along Michigan Avenue, the Congress Plaza Hotel is one of Chicago's oldest and most storied landmarks. Since opening its doors in 1893, it has hosted presidents, dignitaries, and countless travelers seeking luxury and comfort. Yet beyond the grandeur and historic charm, the hotel has long carried a reputation for something far less tangible, an atmosphere of lingering spirits and unexplained phenomena that has captivated both guests and paranormal enthusiasts alike. The haunting tales of the Congress Plaza Hotel have persisted for decades, transforming it from merely a historic building into a site of mystery and spectral intrigue. From the moment guests step into the lobby, some report an odd sensation, a subtle heaviness in the air that seems to settle over them as they take in the ornate chandeliers, polished floors, and vintage decor. While most visitors brush it off as the natural ambience of an older building, others have described feeling watched, as if unseen eyes follow their every move. Staff members working late shifts often report an uncanny awareness of presence passing shadows. The sudden creak of floorboards, or the faint sound of voices in empty corridors. These subtle experiences have given rise to countless stories, each adding to the hotel's haunted mystique. Among the most frequently reported phenomena are ghostly sightings in the upper floors and the long, dimly lit hallways. Guests have described seeing figures dressed in early 20th century attire, often gliding silently across the carpeted halls before vanishing when approached. Some have reported glimpsing shadowy forms in doorways or mirrors, or catching fleeting images of a person who disappears the moment they turn for a closer look. Many witnesses agree that the apparitions appear unthreatening, lingering as if they are echoes of the hotel's past rather than malevolent entities. The hotel's long history has also contributed to its eerie reputation. Over the decades, the Congress Plaza has been the site of significant historical events, including visits from political leaders and involvement in tense moments of Chicago's social history. One of the more notorious elements in its haunted lore stems from the deaths of guests and employees over the decades. While the exact stories vary, common threads include tragic accidents, sudden illnesses, and unexplained incidents that occurred within the hotel's walls. The accumulation of these experiences is thought by some to have left an imprint on the building, an energy that persists for those sensitive enough to perceive it. Auditory phenomena are frequently reported by both guests and staff. Soft whispers seem to float through hallways, sometimes calling out names or echoing phrases from decades past. In some rooms, guests have described the sensation of being lightly touched, as if someone brushed past them in the darkness. Others have heard the faint sound of footsteps pacing in unoccupied corridors, or the distant clatter of furniture moving without explanation. These sounds are subtle, often occurring when the building is quiet, but they contribute to the persistent feeling that the past is never entirely gone. One of the hotel's most famous tales involves the ghost of a woman who allegedly frequented the lobby in the early 1900s. Guests claim to have seen her sitting in a chair near the grand staircase, her figure translucent and shimmering in the soft glow of the lobby lights. She appears composed, almost regal, and vanishes when approached. Some believe she is a former guest who met a tragic end, her presence eternally tied to the hotel she once loved. Others report seeing similar female apparitions along the upper floors, moving gracefully through hallways as if retracing steps they once took in life. Certain rooms in the hotel have earned reputations of their own. Guests staying in these rooms sometimes experience sudden cold spots, electronic devices flickering without cause, or objects slightly displaced after they return from a brief absence. Some have woken to the sensation of someone sitting on the edge of the bed or heard faint whispers that stop abruptly when they call out, while skeptics point to the building's age, old wiring, and natural drafts as explanations. The consistency of these reports over decades suggests something more enigmatic at play. The hotel's long corridors, dimly lit stairwells, and ornate staircases create perfect conditions for atmospheric tension. Shadows stretch and shift under the chandeliers, and the acoustics of the building amplify even the faintest sounds, making creaks, whispers, and footsteps more pronounced. Staff members report that these occurrences are more frequent during late-night hours, when the building is quiet and the energy of past events seems to linger most strongly. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the Congress Plaza Hotel, hoping to document its ghostly residents. Some claim to have captured faint figures on camera or recorded unexplained sounds on audio equipment. Others speak of feelings of unease, sudden chills, or the impression of being watched while traversing hallways, even when alone. While tangible evidence is scarce, the repeated reports from guests and staff alike contribute to the hotel's reputation as one of Chicago's most haunted locations. Despite or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the Congress Plaza Hotel continues to attract visitors. Guests come for its historic charm, luxurious accommodations, and central location. Yet the subtle paranormal activity adds a layer of intrigue that sets it apart. The hotel becomes a place where history, memory, and the unexplained converge, creating an atmosphere that is both elegant and mysterious. Nestled in the heart of Chicago's Lincoln Park, the Lincoln Park Zoo is widely known as a beloved destination for families, tourists, and wildlife enthusiasts. Established in 1868, it is one of the oldest zoos in the United States, home to hundreds of species and sprawling grounds that stretch across lush parkland. Yet, beyond the cheerful laughter of children and the sounds of animals, some areas of the zoo harbor stories far darker, tinged with the supernatural. Over the decades, visitors and staff have whispered about strange occurrences, unexplained feelings of dread, and fleeting ghostly sightings that suggest the zoo holds more than just its animal residents. One of the most frequently reported experiences occurs near the older sections of the zoo, particularly in the abandoned or seldom used service areas. These areas, filled with narrow pathways, storage sheds, and maintenance rooms, have an unmistakable stillness after hours. Guests have described sudden chills in the air, even on warm summer days, and the sensation of unseen eyes following them as they walk the quiet corridors. Staff who work late have occasionally reported hearing footsteps echoing in empty hallways, doors opening and closing without cause, and the faint sounds of whispers that seem to originate from nowhere. Several accounts point to a specific area near the old bear enclosures. Visitors exploring the grounds during off hours have reported feeling a heavy, almost oppressive presence in the vicinity. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving just beyond their line of sight, disappearing when they attempt to look directly at them. Others describe hearing growls, roars, or low, rumbling noises when no animals are nearby, as if the echoes of past inhabitants of the zoo have lingered. These sensations are often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, leaving a palpable chill that seems to crawl along the spine. The zoo's history adds layers of mystery to its haunted reputation. Over its long existence, Lincoln Park Zoo has witnessed countless human and animal stories. Some tragic, early records mention accidents and sudden deaths among caretakers, as well as incidents involving the animals themselves. Some theorists suggest that these events, coupled with the emotional energy tied to years of visitors' experiences, have left an imprint on the land and buildings. Paranormal enthusiasts believe that certain spirits may linger, their presence subtly affecting anyone sensitive to the energies around them. Auditory anomalies are among the most common reports. Guests have heard the sound of voices murmuring through empty pathways, soft whispers that vanish when one attempts to locate their source. Caretakers sometimes report hearing doors creak or footsteps echoing in sections of the zoo long after the last visitor has left. Occasionally, the faint scent of tobacco smoke or old leather has been reported, a detail that seems out of place amid the natural environment of the park, but consistent with accounts of spirits tied to the zoo's earlier decades. Visual sightings, while rare, have left strong impressions. Witnesses recount glimpsing figures dressed in early 20th century attire, moving quickly along pathways or disappearing behind trees. Some describe faint, ghostly silhouettes appearing near the older exhibits at dusk, as if they are wandering through a memory from another time. These apparitions rarely interact directly with the living, but the sudden sight of something intangible has been enough to make many pause, question what they saw, and leave the area with a lingering sense of unease. Even the zoo's nocturnal atmosphere contributes to the unsettling feeling. After dark, the familiar landscape transforms. Shadows stretch across exhibits, wind rustles through trees, and the calls of nocturnal animals echo eerily in the stillness. Visitors who have attended after-hours events report that familiar paths feel unfamiliar, and that the weight of history is almost tangible in these quiet hours. Some have felt a presence brushing past them on empty trails, only to find no one there. Others report seeing lights flicker in areas where electrical systems are fully operational, suggesting an inexplicable interference with the environment. Caretakers and staff who work regularly at Lincoln Park Zoo have adapted to these experiences. Many acknowledge the occurrences without fear, treating them as part of the zoo's layered history. They recognize certain areas as hotspots, places where unexplained activity is most likely to occur, and often share stories with visitors as part of the lore. This quiet acknowledgement adds to the zoo's mystique, creating a sense that the paranormal presence is integrated into the daily rhythm of the park, rather than overtly malevolent. Paranormal investigators have also taken interest in Lincoln Park Zoo, using audio equipment, cameras, and temperature sensors. Some claim to have captured faint sounds of whispers, sudden drops in temperature, and shadowy forms in restricted areas. While skeptics argue that drafts, old architecture, and natural wildlife noises explain much of the activity, the consistency of reports over decades continues to intrigue those who seek evidence of the supernatural. Despite these eerie tales, Lincoln Park Zoo remains a place of wonder and discovery. Guests come to see exotic animals, enjoy the gardens, and explore the historical architecture. Yet, for those attuned to the subtle, strange, and unexplained, the zoo offers something more: a connection to the past, a glimpse of stories lingering in the air, and the faint presence of spirits whose history remains intertwined with the land. Visitors often leave with a sense of awe, not only at the animals and exhibits, but at the unexplainable mysteries that coexist quietly within the park. Perched elegantly along Chicago's Magnificent Mile, the Drake Hotel has long been synonymous with luxury, refinement, and historic charm. Since opening its doors in 1920, it has welcomed presidents, celebrities, and dignitaries, offering exquisite accommodations and an unparalleled view of Lake Michigan. Yet beyond the opulent ballrooms, grand lobbies, and ornate corridors, the Drake carries a reputation that few guidebooks mention. It is said to be haunted. Over the decades, guests and staff alike have reported a series of strange and unexplainable phenomena, making the hotel a site of fascination for those intrigued by the supernatural. Many of the hotel's ghost stories center on the upper floors, where past tragedies and historical events seem to echo most strongly. Guests often report sudden drops in temperature upon entering certain hallways or rooms, a chill that contrasts sharply with the otherwise warm atmosphere of the hotel. Some describe the sensation of being watched, an inexplicable heaviness that presses against the chest as though unseen eyes are following every step. These sensations, though subtle, are persistent, leaving an indelible impression on those who experience them. One of the most frequently recounted encounters involves the hotel's ballrooms and event spaces. Staff have occasionally reported hearing the faint strains of music, the clinking of glasses, or the murmur of voices when no event is in progress. Guests attending weddings, galas, or private functions sometimes claim to feel a presence moving among them, a figure glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, only to vanish when directly observed. These fleeting appearances are often described as elegant or ghostly figures, dressed in the fashion of decades past, as though the hotel's rich history has left imprints of those who once graced its halls. The Drake's rooms have also been sites of paranormal activity. Some guests recount waking in the middle of the night to the sensation of someone standing at the foot of their bed, a cold draft brushing across their face. Others hear footsteps pacing just outside their doors, or faint whispers that dissolve as soon as they attempt to locate the source. Objects sometimes shift mysteriously, and lights flicker without cause, lending credibility to tales of lingering spirits. Staff members have become familiar with certain rooms and floors, knowing where occurrences are most likely, and treating them as a curious part of the hotel's character rather than a source of fear. Historical events surrounding the Drake contribute to its spectral allure. The hotel has been host to countless high-profile visitors and has seen both joyous celebrations and quiet tragedies. Some stories suggest that spirits of former guests, employees, or residents who met untimely deaths within the building remain tied to the hotel, their presence subtly influencing the energy of its spaces. Paranormal enthusiasts believe that the combination of emotional intensity, historical significance, and human activity creates conditions ripe for lingering apparitions. Auditory experiences are among the most commonly reported phenomena. Guests and staff have described hearing muffled conversations in empty corridors, the gentle tapping of shoes on polished floors, or the soft brushing of fabric as if a former guest glided past unseen. In some instances, music has been reported faint strains of a piano or distant orchestral notes reminiscent of grand dances held decades ago. These sounds appear to have no source, vanishing when approached, leaving only a sense that the echoes of past events remain imprinted on the hotel itself. Visual encounters, though less frequent, are often striking. Some visitors have glimpsed shadowy figures walking along the hallways, moving with deliberate, measured steps, only to vanish upon direct observation. Others have reported seeing a fleeting reflection in a mirror or window, a form that does not match anyone present. Staff members recount sightings of a woman in period attire descending staircases or waiting near doors, her figure faint and almost translucent. Such experiences, while brief, leave a lasting impression and contribute to the lore of the Drake as a haunted location. Even the hotel's architecture seems to amplify its haunted qualities. The high ceilings, expansive corridors, and ornate staircases create acoustics that carry sound in unexpected ways, magnifying footsteps, whispers, and the faintest creaks of the building. Drafts moving through the historic windows or old ventilation systems can also contribute to eerie sensations. Yet the consistency and frequency of reports suggest that something more enigmatic lingers beyond simple physical explanations. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the Drake Hotel, hoping to capture evidence of its ghostly residents. Using audio recorders, infrared cameras, and thermal sensors, some claim to have documented unexplained sounds, shadowy forms, or sudden temperature drops. Whether or not these pieces of evidence convince skeptics, they reinforce the hotel's reputation as one of Chicago's most intriguing haunted sites. Guests who experience the unexplained at the Drake often leave with a mix of fascination and unease. The hotel becomes more than a place to stay. It becomes a space where history, memory, and the supernatural intersect. Patrons come seeking luxury and comfort, but many leave with an awareness that the past has not entirely departed. Whispers, footsteps, and fleeting figures remind visitors that the Drake is alive not only with the bustle of the present but also with the echoes of those who walked its halls long ago. Rising proudly in the heart of downtown Chicago, the Palmer House Hilton is a testament to both luxury and history. Established in 1871, it was rebuilt after the Great Chicago Fire and has since become one of the city's most iconic hotels. Its grand ballrooms, opulent decor, and rich history attract countless visitors each year. But beneath the elegance and glamour lies a darker side that few guidebooks mention. For decades, the Palmer House has been a hotspot for paranormal activity, with guests and staff alike reporting unexplained occurrences, eerie sensations, and ghostly sightings that have cemented its reputation as one of Chicago's most haunted hotels. Many stories revolve around the hotel's upper floors, where tragedy and history intertwine. Guests often describe sudden temperature drops upon entering certain rooms or hallways, as if invisible hands have lowered the air around them. Some report the sensation of being watched, a subtle but persistent awareness that seems to follow them as they walk the long corridors. The feeling is often fleeting, yet unforgettable, leaving a lingering sense that the hotel's past inhabitants are still present, quietly observing the comings and goings of the living. Auditory phenomena are among the most common and unsettling experiences at the Palmer House. Staff and late-night guests have reported hearing faint footsteps echoing along empty hallways, the gentle hum of voices in rooms that have long been vacated, or the soft clinking of glasses from the ballrooms long after events have ended. Some visitors claim to hear whispers of names, conversations, or warnings that vanish as soon as one attempts to locate the source. Even elevators have been the site of odd occurrences, with buttons lighting up seemingly on their own and the sensation of being lightly touched when no one else is present. Visual encounters at the Palmer House are particularly striking. Several guests have reported seeing shadowy figures gliding along the hallways, sometimes dressed in early 20th century attire, disappearing when approached. Others recount glimpsing faint forms in mirrors or polished windows, only to find nothing there upon a second look. One particularly well-known story involves a woman in a flowing dress scene descending the grand staircase at night. Her figure is described as translucent, almost ethereal, and she vanishes when anyone tries to approach her. Some speculate that these apparitions are echoes of former guests, employees, or even entertainers who once walked the hotel's halls. Trapped in the memory of the building itself, rooms in the hotel have developed reputations of their own. Certain rooms are known among staff for sudden cold drafts, flickering lights, or unexplained noises. Guests occasionally wake in the middle of the night to the sensation of a presence in the room, with some claiming to feel someone standing at the foot of the bed or brushing past them. Objects have been reported moving mysteriously, chairs slightly shifted, items appearing out of place, or doors closing on their own. These experiences, while unnerving, are often described as subtle and non-threatening, creating a quiet tension rather than outright fear. The Palmer House's long and storied history contributes to the hotel's spectral allure. Over its century-long existence, it has witnessed countless personal dramas, historic events, and social milestones. Deaths, accidents, and untimely tragedies have occurred within its walls, and some theorists believe that the intense emotions tied to these moments have left residual energy, a lasting imprint that sensitive individuals can perceive. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the combination of historical significance, emotional intensity, and human activity creates fertile ground for spirits to linger, influencing the energy of the hotel. Many of the hotel's haunted tales involve notable locations such as the grand ballroom, the lobby, and the rooftop, areas where celebrations and social gatherings have historically taken place. Guests have described seeing figures in period clothing dancing across the floors, only to vanish when they attempt to engage. Others report the faint sound of music, footsteps, or murmured conversation echoing in otherwise empty spaces. Even the grand lobby, with its glittering chandeliers and marble floors, has been the setting for strange occurrences, from unexplained shadows to objects moving slightly without explanation. Staff members have long come to accept the Palmer House's haunted reputation. Housekeepers, bellhops, and maintenance personnel share stories among themselves, treating certain rooms and areas as hotspots where activity is more frequent. They often approach these events with a mixture of respect and curiosity, acknowledging the presence of the past without fear. Their experiences, combined with those of guests, create a rich tapestry of anecdotal evidence that continues to intrigue both visitors and investigators. Paranormal researchers have also explored the Palmer House, using audio recorders, cameras, and thermal imaging to capture possible evidence of ghostly activity. Some claim to have recorded unexplained sounds, flickering shadows, or temperature anomalies, while others speak of a pervasive feeling of being observed, even when alone in the vast corridors. Whether these reports provide definitive proof or not, they contribute to the hotel's reputation as a place where history and the supernatural intersect. Despite the ghostly tales, the Palmer House Hilton remains a prestigious destination, drawing visitors with its elegance, history, and central location. Guests come to enjoy the luxurious accommodations, fine dining, and historic ambience. Yet the subtle supernatural activity adds an extra layer of intrigue. For those attuned to the paranormal, a stay at the Palmer House becomes more than a night in a hotel. It is an encounter with the echoes of the past, a glimpse into a world where memories linger and spirits walk alongside the living. Rising majestically along Chicago's South Loop, the Blackstone Hotel is more than just an architectural landmark. It is a historic icon steeped in luxury, culture, and a hint of the supernatural. Since opening its doors in 1910, the hotel has hosted presidents, celebrities, and countless dignitaries, offering elegance and refinement in the heart of the city. Yet behind its opulent facades, grand ballrooms, and marble corridors lies a reputation that whispers of ghostly activity and eerie occurrences. For over a century, the Blackstone has captured the imagination of both visitors and staff, many of whom have experienced unexplained phenomena that suggests the hotel's history is not confined to the past, but lingers quietly, observing those who walk its halls. Much of the paranormal lore surrounding the Blackstone focuses on the upper floors, where guest rooms, hallways, and suites have been sites of recurring reports. Guests often speak of sudden drops in temperature, a coldness that seems to seep into their bones, unaccompanied by drafts or air conditioning malfunctions. Some have reported the sensation of being watched, an unseen presence following them from room to room, while others recount hearing faint whispers that dissolve when investigated. These subtle occurrences, while not overtly threatening, create an undeniable feeling that the hotel harbors more than just its living patrons. Staff members frequently recount auditory phenomena that cannot be easily explained. Housekeepers have heard the creak of floorboards in vacant corridors, the echo of distant footsteps, and doors opening or closing on their own. Late-night maintenance workers often mention hearing muffled conversations or the soft murmur of laughter in empty rooms, as if past celebrations are replaying themselves quietly within the walls. Some employees have even reported hearing the faint strains of music, reminiscent of jazz bands or piano melodies from the hotel's early years, carried along the hallways despite no source being present. Visual encounters are another component of the Blackstone's haunted reputation. Guests have claimed to see shadowy figures moving along the corridors, vanishing when approached, or glimpsing fleeting reflections in mirrors that do not correspond to anyone in the room. One recurring report involves a figure dressed in early 20th century attire, wandering the hallways or appearing briefly at the foot of a bed before disappearing into thin air. These apparitions are rarely aggressive, but their presence is enough to unsettle even the most seasoned visitors, leaving an impression that lingers long after departure. Some of the most intriguing reports come from the hotel's ballrooms and event spaces. Over the decades, the Blackstone has hosted countless weddings, political events, and social gatherings. And some believe that the emotional intensity of these occasions has left residual energy behind. Guests and staff alike have described feeling sudden chills or glimpsing figures in period clothing gliding across the floors when the rooms are otherwise empty. Soft sounds, faint clinking glasses, whispers, or the echo of shoes on the polished floors have been heard in spaces long after the last event concluded, as though the hotel itself preserves the memory of its past celebrations. The hotel's storied history adds context to its supernatural reputation. The Blackstone has witnessed tragedy and triumph, and some rooms and corridors carry the weight of decades of human experience. Deaths, accidents, and historical milestones are interwoven with its luxurious image. And paranormal enthusiasts argue that this mixture of emotional intensity and historical significance creates a fertile environment for lingering spirits. Some theorists suggest that former staff, guests, or notable figures who spent significant time at the hotel may have left a spiritual imprint, subtly influencing the atmosphere even today. Guests have reported disturbances in their personal spaces as well. Room objects sometimes shift inexplicably, lights flicker, and electronic devices behave oddly, all without logical explanation. Several visitors recount waking in the middle of the night to find their doors opening slightly or feeling the presence of someone in the room, only to find it empty. These phenomena, while brief, reinforce the idea that the Blackstone's history is still very much alive, interacting quietly with the living. Paranormal investigators have long taken an interest in the Blackstone Hotel, using audio recorders, infrared cameras, and thermal imaging. Some claim to have captured evidence of disembodied voices, unexplained shadows, or sudden temperature anomalies, while skeptics point to the hotel's age, structural quirks, and environmental factors as potential explanations. The consistency of reports over decades continues to intrigue both professionals and curious visitors alike. Even today, the Blackstone Hotel remains a premier destination for travelers seeking luxury, history, and the vibrant energy of downtown Chicago. Yet, for those attuned to the supernatural, it offers an additional layer of intrigue. Visitors may come for the lavish rooms, fine dining, or elegant ballrooms, but many leave with a sense of having brushed against the unseen. encountering echoes of the past that remain suspended within the hotel's walls. Standing proudly along Chicago's Magnificent Mile, the Drake Hotel has long been a symbol of elegance, luxury, and history. Since opening in 1920, it has welcomed presidents, celebrities, and countless visitors seeking the grandeur of its ballrooms, lavish suites, and sweeping views of Lake Michigan. Yet behind the opulent decor and glittering chandeliers lies a reputation that is far less well known or quiet. Persistent lore of ghostly sightings and unexplained phenomena that has intrigued guests and staff for decades. For those who have spent time in its halls, the Drake is more than a hotel. It is a place where the past lingers, sometimes visibly, sometimes as a whisper, and always in a way that cannot be ignored. Many of the hotel's spectral reports come from its upper floors, where guest rooms and suites are said to harbor lingering spirits. Visitors often describe sudden drops in temperature, chills that move along the spine for no apparent reason. Some report the sensation of being watched, an invisible presence that follows them through hallways and across the polished floors. Guests have recounted waking in the middle of the night to the feeling of someone standing at the foot of their bed, only to find the room empty. Others claim to hear faint whispers, the low murmur of voices just beyond comprehension, dissolving whenever one attempts to locate the source. Auditory phenomena are among the most commonly reported experiences at the Drake Hotel. Staff members, particularly housekeepers and night attendants, describe hearing the creak of floorboards and empty corridors, the soft clatter of unseen footsteps, and even faint laughter echoing from rooms that have long been vacated. The grand ballrooms, normally silent after the last event, are said to occasionally carry the sound of music, distant strains of a piano, the rustle of fabric on polished floors, or the echo of shoes moving rhythmically across the space. Patrons attending weddings or formal events sometimes sense a presence moving among them, glimpsing shadows or figures at the edge of their vision, only for the images to vanish when looked at directly. Visual sightings at the Drake are often fleeting but unforgettable. Guests have reported seeing translucent figures in period attire gliding down hallways or standing silently near windows, only to disappear when approached. Some have described a woman in an elegant dress descending the grand staircase, her form almost shimmering in the low light. Mirrors and reflective surfaces occasionally reveal unexpected movement, a fleeting silhouette that does not correspond to anyone in the room. These experiences are typically brief, leaving those who witness them with a lingering sense of wonder and unease. A subtle reminder that the hotel's past is still very much present. The Drake's ballrooms and event spaces are often the setting for some of the most compelling accounts. The hotel's history, rich with celebrations, high-profile gatherings, and personal dramas, may explain why so many report sensing the lingering energy of past patrons. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that the emotional intensity of these moments leaves residual imprints on the building itself, echoes of laughter, sorrow, and joy that persist across decades. Rooms throughout the hotel have reputations of their own. Some are known among staff as hotspots for unexplained occurrences, lights flickering without cause, doors opening slightly, or objects shifting ever so subtly. Guests occasionally awaken to discover that chairs have moved or that items they left in one place are now in another. Some report faint tapping on walls, as if someone is moving just beyond the visible perimeter of the room. While these phenomena rarely threaten, they create an atmosphere that is simultaneously fascinating and disquieting, a delicate tension that has drawn countless visitors seeking a brush with the paranormal. Historical context adds to the Drake Hotel's mystique. Over its century-long existence, it has been the backdrop to both triumph and tragedy. Deaths, accidents, and emotional events have occurred within its walls. And some theorists argue that such intense human experiences can leave spiritual imprints. Former staff, guests, or prominent figures who frequented the hotel may have left lingering energy, influencing the atmosphere and subtly interacting with the living. Paranormal investigators often focus on these layers of history, hoping to capture evidence of residual presence through audio recordings, thermal cameras, and infrared photography, while skeptics point to architectural quirks or environmental factors as explanations. The sheer consistency of the reports lends the Drake an enduring reputation as a haunted hotel. Even today, the Drake remains a sought-after destination, attracting visitors with its luxury accommodations, fine dining, and iconic views. Yet for those sensitive to the paranormal, it offers something beyond comfort to connection to the hotel's living history. Guests may sense a shadow moving at the edge of their vision, feel a chill in an otherwise warm room, or hear whispers where none should exist. These moments are fleeting but memorable, transforming a simple stay into an experience layered with both historical resonance and supernatural intrigue. Standing proudly in downtown Chicago, the Palmer House Hilton is more than just a hotel. It is a living monument to the city's history, luxury, and intrigue. Since opening its doors in 1871, the hotel has witnessed the rise and fall of fortunes, hosted presidents, celebrities, and social elites, and survived a devastating fire that nearly destroyed it. Amidst its opulent ballrooms, marble corridors, and ornate ceilings, the Palmer House Hilton has developed a reputation that goes beyond elegance, a reputation for being haunted. Over the decades, guests and staff have reported unexplained occurrences, ghostly sightings, and eerie sensations that suggest the hotel's past never truly leaves its halls. Many of the paranormal accounts revolve around the hotel's guest rooms and upper floors. Visitors often speak of sudden drops in temperature, cold spots that seem to linger despite the heat or air conditioning. Some report a heavy feeling in the air, as if an invisible presence is observing them. Guests have described waking in the middle of the night to the sensation of someone standing near their bed, or feeling a hand brush lightly past them when no one else is in the room. Others recount hearing faint whispers, distant murmurs that cannot be traced to any living person. These occurrences, while subtle, leave a lasting impression and contribute to the hotel's mysterious reputation. Auditory phenomena are among the most commonly reported experiences. Staff members, particularly night attendants and housekeepers, have described hearing footsteps echoing along empty corridors, doors opening or closing on their own, and muffled voices in rooms long since vacated. Even in the grand ballrooms, where events often conclude late in the evening, some have claimed to hear the faint clinking of glasses, soft music, or the rustle of fabric across polished floors after the last guests have departed. Paranormal investigators suggest that these sounds are echoes of the hotel's vibrant past, remnants of celebrations, dances, and social gatherings replaying as residual energy within the walls. Visual sightings further enhance the Palmer House Hilton's haunted reputation. Guests have reported fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures, often dressed in early 20th century attire, moving silently along hallways or descending the grand staircases. Mirrors sometimes reveal reflections that do not match anyone present, and some have seen forms vanish when approached directly. One commonly told story involves a woman in a long, flowing gown, appearing near the elevators or in corridors late at night. Her figure is described as faint, ethereal, almost shimmering in the low light, disappearing when anyone tries to get a closer look. These sightings, though brief, are vivid enough to unsettle even seasoned visitors. Certain rooms and areas of the hotel have earned reputations as hotspots for paranormal activity. Guests and staff alike report flickering lights, objects moving slightly out of place, and sudden drops in temperature. Some claim to hear tapping on walls or furniture, as if someone unseen is moving within the room. These occurrences are subtle yet persistent, creating an atmosphere that is both intriguing and unnerving. Many long-term employees have come to accept these experiences as part of the hotel's character, often sharing stories of the unusual events with new staff members. The Palmer House Hilton's long history helps explain the prevalence of these accounts. Over its century-plus existence, the hotel has been the site of countless personal dramas, celebrations, and tragedies. Deaths, accidents, and emotionally charged events have occurred within its walls. And paranormal experts suggest that such intense emotional energy can leave residual imprints, Former guests, staff, or notable figures may continue to linger in the hotel in subtle, spectral forms, interacting silently with the living. Investigators equipped with cameras, audio recorders, and thermal imaging devices often attempt to capture evidence of these presences, claiming to record unexplained sounds, flickering shadows, and temperature anomalies. Whether or not one accepts these findings as proof, they reinforce the hotel's reputation as a haunted location. Ballrooms and event spaces are also central to the Palmer House's ghostly lore. The hotel has hosted countless weddings, galas, and political events, and some believe the emotional intensity of these gatherings leaves traces that can be sensed later. Guests have reported feeling a presence while dancing alone on the ballroom floor, hearing the faint echo of music, or glimpsing figures in period dress gliding across the room. Even when the hotel is empty, the sense that the past is never entirely gone is tangible. Despite its haunted reputation, the Palmer House Hilton remains a premier destination for visitors seeking luxury and history. Guests come for the ornate architecture, fine dining, and central location. Yet many leave with more than memories of comfort. They leave with stories of unexplained phenomena and a brush with the supernatural. For those attuned to the paranormal, the hotel offers an experience that is at once elegant and eerie. A place where the past and present coexist in ways that are felt as much as seen. Rising majestically along Chicago's South Loop, the Blackstone Hotel is more than just an architectural landmark. It is a historic icon steeped in luxury, culture, and a hint of the supernatural. Since opening its doors in 1910, the hotel has hosted presidents, celebrities, and countless dignitaries, offering elegance and refinement in the heart of the city. Yet behind its opulent facades, grand ballrooms, and marble corridors lies a reputation that whispers of ghostly activity and eerie occurrences. For over a century, the Blackstone has captured the imagination of both visitors and staff, many of whom have experienced unexplained phenomena that suggest the hotel's history is not confined to the past but lingers, quietly observing those who walk its halls. Much of the paranormal lore surrounding the Blackstone focuses on the upper floors, where guest rooms, hallways, and suites have been sites of recurring reports. Guests often speak of sudden drops in temperature, a coldness that seems to seep into their bones, unaccompanied by drafts or air conditioning malfunctions. Some have reported the sensation of being watched, an unseen presence following them from room to room, while others recount hearing faint whispers that dissolve when investigated. These subtle occurrences, while not overtly threatening, create an undeniable feeling that the hotel harbors more than just its living patrons. Staff members frequently recount auditory phenomena that cannot be easily explained. Housekeepers have heard the creak of floorboards in vacant corridors, the echo of distant footsteps, and doors opening or closing on their own. Late-night maintenance workers often mention hearing muffled conversations or the soft murmur of laughter in empty rooms, as if past celebrations are replaying themselves quietly within the walls. Some employees have even reported hearing the faint strains of music, reminiscent of jazz bands or piano melodies from the hotel's early years, carried along the hallways despite no source being present. Visual encounters are another component of the Blackstone's haunted reputation. Guests have claimed to see shadowy figures moving along the corridors, vanishing when approached, or glimpsing fleeting reflections in mirrors that do not correspond to anyone in the room. One recurring report involves a figure dressed in early 20th century attire, wandering the hallways or appearing briefly at the foot of a bed before disappearing into thin air. These apparitions are rarely aggressive, but their presence is enough to unsettle even the most seasoned visitors, leaving an impression that lingers long after departure. Some of the most intriguing reports come from the hotel's ballrooms and event spaces. Over the decades, the Blackstone has hosted countless weddings, political events, and social gatherings. And some believe that the emotional intensity of these occasions has left residual energy behind. Soft sounds, faint clinking glasses, whispers, or the echo of shoes on the polished floors have been heard in spaces long after the last event concluded, as though the hotel itself preserves the memory of its past celebrations. The hotel's storied history adds context to its supernatural reputation. The Blackstone has witnessed tragedy and triumph, and some rooms and corridors carry the weight of decades of human experience. Deaths, accidents, and historical milestones are interwoven with its luxurious image. And paranormal enthusiasts argue that this mixture of emotional intensity and historical significance creates a fertile environment for lingering spirits. Some theorists suggest that former staff, guests, or notable figures who spent significant time at the hotel may have left a spiritual imprint, subtly influencing the atmosphere even today. Guests have reported disturbances in their personal spaces as well. Room objects sometimes shift inexplicably, lights flicker, and electronic devices behave oddly, all without logical explanation. Several visitors recount waking in the middle of the night to find their doors opening slightly or feeling the presence of someone in the room, only to find it empty. These phenomena, while brief, reinforce the idea that the Blackstone's history is still very much alive, interacting quietly with the living. Paranormal investigators have long taken an interest in the Blackstone Hotel, using audio recorders, infrared cameras, and thermal imaging. Some claim to have captured evidence of disembodied voices, unexplained shadows, or sudden temperature anomalies. While skeptics point to the hotel's age, structural quirks, and environmental factors as potential explanations, the consistency of reports over decades continues to intrigue both professionals and curious visitors alike. Even today, the Blackstone Hotel remains a premier destination for travelers seeking luxury, history, and the vibrant energy of downtown Chicago. Yet, for those attuned to the supernatural, it offers an additional layer of intrigue. Visitors may come for the lavish rooms, fine dining, or elegant ballrooms, but many leave with a sense of having brushed against the unseen, encountering echoes of the past that remain suspended within the hotel's walls. Standing tall on Chicago's magnificent mile, the Drake Hotel is an icon of luxury, history, and mystery. Since opening its doors in 1920, it has welcomed presidents, celebrities, and travelers seeking elegance and comfort. Yet beneath its polished floors, ornate chandeliers, and grand ballrooms lies a less visible but persistent Laguzia, reputation for ghostly encounters and unexplained phenomena. For decades, guests and staff alike have reported experiences that hint at a presence lingering beyond the living, creating an atmosphere where history and the supernatural converge. Many of the hotel's hauntings are centered around its guest rooms and upper floors. Visitors often speak of sudden chills, inexplicable cold spots, and the sensation of being watched. Some describe waking in the middle of the night to the feeling of someone standing at the foot of their bed, only to find the room empty. Others report hearing faint whispers or soft murmurs coming from the walls or hallways. These experiences, though subtle, leave a lasting impression, turning what should be a simple overnight stay into a night steeped in mystery and unease. Staff members frequently recount strange occurrences that defy explanation. Housekeepers have reported hearing footsteps along corridors with no guests present, doors opening or closing on their own, and a distant sound of music drifting from empty ballrooms. Night attendants often describe hearing the murmur of conversations, the faint clink of glasses, or the rustle of fabric across the polished floors, all without a visible source. Even routine tasks, such as making beds or cleaning empty rooms, sometimes become unsettling experiences when these sounds echo unexpectedly. Visual phenomena are also commonly reported at the Drake. Guests have described seeing shadowy figures gliding along hallways or standing silently near windows, disappearing the moment they are approached. One frequently told story involves a woman in a long, flowing gown, moving gracefully down the corridors or descending the grand staircase, only to vanish without a trace. Mirrors sometimes reflect images that are not present, fleeting forms that appear and disappear at the edge of perception. These encounters are brief, yet their impact is profound, leaving witnesses with a mix of awe and unease. The hotel's grand ballrooms and event spaces often serve as focal points for paranormal activity. Over the decades, the Drake has hosted countless weddings, social gatherings, and political events, each leaving behind traces of human emotion and energy. Guests and staff have reported feeling presences while walking across empty ballrooms, hearing the distant hum of music, or catching glimpses of figures dressed in period attire moving across the floor. Some believe that these lingering energies are residual imprints, echoes of the past replaying silently in the present. Even in the absence of events, the ballrooms occasionally seem to hum with the weight of history, carrying the faint but unmistakable sensation that the past has not fully departed. Certain rooms have developed reputations as hotspots for unexplained activity. Patrons have reported lights flickering, objects shifting subtly, and doors opening slightly on their own. Some guests describe hearing tapping on walls, soft footfalls, or the sensation of being lightly touched by an unseen presence. Employees who have worked at the hotel for years often recount similar experiences, suggesting that these phenomena are a consistent part of the Drake's character rather than isolated incidents. These occurrences, while typically harmless, contribute to an atmosphere that is both intriguing and unsettling. The history of the Drake Hotel adds depth to its haunted reputation. Over the past century, the hotel has witnessed moments of triumph, tragedy, and intense human emotion. Deaths, accidents, and high-stakes events have occurred within its walls, and paranormal investigators suggest that such experiences can leave residual impressions. Some theorists argue that former guests, staff, or notable figures may continue to linger in spectral form, subtly influencing the atmosphere for those still living. Investigators armed with thermal cameras, audio recorders, and infrared photography have claimed to capture evidence of disembodied voices, shadowy figures, and unexplained temperature fluctuations. Though skeptics often point to natural explanations such as drafts, building acoustics, or electrical malfunctions. Nevertheless, the consistency and variety of reports lend credence to the hotel's eerie reputation. Even today, the Drake remains a premier destination for travelers seeking luxury, history, and an iconic Chicago experience. Yet for those sensitive to the supernatural, it offers an additional layer of fascination. Visitors may experience sudden chills, glimpses of shadows, or whispers in the night, transforming a routine stay into an encounter with the unknown. These moments, fleeting and subtle, remind guests that the hotel is more than a collection of rooms and ballrooms. It is a repository of memory, emotion, and lingering presence. Thank you for joining us on this spine-tingling tour of Chicago's most haunted bars. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, these establishments offer a glimpse into the city's eerie past. Remember, the next time you raise a glass in Chicago, you might not be alone. Until next time, keep your lights on and your spirits high.